Chapter 1022, Sudden Change in Travel Plans, 5. After taking care of Su Luo, Nangong Luyun took a step forward. At this moment, Nangong Liuyun's tall figure stood loftily upright. His arrogant, pitch-black eyes flashed with a unique sharp edge that looked down disdainfully at the whole world. His outline was cold and resolute. The outline of his jaw defined arrogance and nobility. He just stood like that, conceited and insufferably arrogant, as he cast sidelong glances at Situ Ming. His tone was indifferent and ice-cold. "Just now, what did you say?" Situ Ming's chest blocked up. What did he say? He merely asked Nangong not to wound Yao Yao for a random woman. Nangong Luyun grabbed Situ Ming by the collar, lifting him up. His eyes narrowed dangerously and warned him while clearly enunciating each word. "Situ Ming, I respect you as my senior brother, so I'll forget about those words from just now. If there is a second time, don't blame me for becoming hostile." Now, Nangong Liuyun's whole body emitted a furious aura, containing endless chilliness and harshness. Domineering and strong, not tolerating another opinion. Insufferably arrogant. So cool. Simply awesome. If it wasn't for the fact that the current atmosphere was unsuitable, Su Luo would have even wanted to whistle. Her Nangong really was simply too cool. Even when he was emitting a furious aura, he was still so cool as to defy nature. Situ Ming was clearly scared stiff by Nangong Luyun. The expression on his face was very complicated. There was wrath, there was helplessness, but mostly, it was disbelief. He completely didn't expect that third junior brother could speak such heartless words. Nangong Liuyun's dark pupils were sharp as a hawk's, completely relentless. He threw aside Situ Ming, turned around to carry Su Luo, and left with large strides. "Third senior brother, how could you treat second senior brother like this? How could you treat us like this?" Li Yao Yao wept beautifully, looking as if she had been extremely wronged. She rushed up, wanting to pull at Nangong Luyun, but was swept back by a wave of his hand. Li Yao Yao. Nangong's whole body was covered in a layer of frost. His entire body was penetrated with chillness. He paused a bit and finally opened his mouth to say, "Don't think other people are all fools." Li Yao Yao momentarily stared blankly with a complexion that was pale as snow. Nangong Liyun's star-like eyes were malicious as he indifferently gazed at Li Yao Yao. "Before, those things you did to Luo Luo, don't assume I don't know." Under his murderous gaze, Li Yao Yao subconsciously took a step back. Her heart panicked and turned into a mess. "Don't know what ought be done." She wanted to explain, yet with the words on the tip of her tongue, she discovered that she basically had no excuse. "If there is a next time, I'll kill you without discussion." Nangong Luyun, who had already entered the ranks of the exceptionally strong at 20 years old, absolutely had such confidence and aggressiveness. Li Yao Yao's entire person wasn't good. This was still the first time third senior brother had so clearly and simply expressed his loathing. His gaze was so sharp and coldly detached, cruel and heartless, absolutely without a touch of feelings remaining. Not only did he plainly and openly refuse her, he also warned her that by continuing, she'd lose her life. Li Yao Yao simply didn't need to act. Her tears immediately welled up like spring water, unable to be stopped. At this moment, she only felt cold water flow down from the top of her head, making her feel a cold that penetrated through to her heart and lungs. If, Li Yao Yao, choking with emotion, gazed at Nangong Luyun with red-rimmed eyes. "If I was truly to move against Su Luo, would you really kill me?" Not only Li Yao Yao, but now, Situ Ming was also glaring at Nangong Luyun with grief and indignation. Su Luo was also quietly gazing at Nangong Luyun. From Su Luo's line of sight on the side, she could see Nangong Luyun's handsome side profile. At this moment, the lines of his face were stretched taut, his face arrogant and ice-cold, with a solemn and very serious expression. "Yes." Nangong Luyun's answer was firm, straightforward, resolute, and showed no quarter. Chapter 1023, Sudden Change in Travel Plans, 6. Li Yao Yao's body swayed. Momentarily unable to stand still, she fell backwards. Situ Ming's eyes and hands were quick. He caught Li Yaoyao with one grab. Yao Yao, Yao Yao. Seeing Li Yaoyao with her eyes tightly closed, Situ Ming raised his eyes to glare at Nangong Luyuan with anger and bitterness. You've gone too far. She merely likes you. That's all. Nangong Luyuan coldly sneered. Likes? She likes me. Then, she can harm my Luo? On one side was Li Yaoyao, who had fainted from anger. The other side was his Luo, who was placed at the tip of his heart. This treatment was really like the difference between the clouds and the mud. Situ Ming furiously roared. Nangong Luyuan, you and Li Yaoyao had grown up together since childhood. She's so kind-hearted. How could she possibly harm the girl in your arms? Nangong Luyuan cast a disdainful glance at Situ Ming. Second senior brother, your eyes are blind, but it does not mean mine are blind too. Situ Ming was angered in his heart, and it was full of bitterness. Su Luo shook her head, forcing a smile. Situ Ming's pair of eyes had been blinded by Li Yaoyao's sincere and kind-hearted exterior. If he knew that the first time Li Yaoyao saw her, she had dispatched a small group of subordinates to chase and kill her. Don't know if he would feel the despair of being disillusioned with his goddess. Nangong Luyuan indifferently looked at Situ Ming. On this journey, manage your junior sister well. Nangong Luyuan's pitch-black eyes were cold, pure, and threatening. He was enveloped from head to toe in the dignity of a strong expert. Finished speaking, Nangong Luyuan carried Su Luo and left with large strides. His embrace was warm like the spring, with steps steady like pine trees. The overbearingness on his body was the kind that caused a person to be intoxicated. Nangong Luyuan completely pursued one principle. That was, to treat enemies mercilessly like the autumn wind sweeping away the fallen leaves. To treat one's love warmly like the spring. Nangong Luyuan, who had just now given off a biting cold murderous air, after he entered the tent, he immediately transformed into a meek sheep. This pulls-apart treatment. No wonder Li Yaoyao would directly faint from being angered. Be obedient, have a good night's sleep. Tomorrow, early in the morning, we still have to hasten on our way. Nangong Luyuan gathered Su Luo's collar together and wrapped her into a ball. Su Luo's clear eyes gazed at him. Suddenly, she moved up and gave him a firm kiss on his face. Simultaneously, she gave him a thumbs up. Nangong Luyuan, you are simply too wonderful. How fortunate was she that this lifetime she could obtain this man's wholehearted love. To attack the rival in love was originally her duty. However, Nangong Luyuan had taken on all the responsibility by himself to avoid wasting a bit of her attention. This kind of man, even if he was placed in the entire world, he should still be one of a kind, right? Nangong Luyuan's pair of eyes glistened brightly. His sculpted facial features were bright as starlight. Praised by the one he loved, Nangong Luyuan's heart felt very sweet. His rubbed Su Luo's hair in a very good mood. Foolish girl, I have already said it before, this lifetime, I will not let you suffer a bit of harm. Even if it was verbal injury, he also absolutely would not allow it. But just now, you were truly heartless. You didn't leave her even a bit of feelings, no matter how you say it. You guys were still childhood sweethearts. Su Luo, smiling happily, said. This girl exemplified having gotten a small advantage and flaunting it. If he dared to be amiable to Li Yaoyao, it would be a wonder if this girl didn't get angry. Nangong's pitch-black eyes flickered like starlight. He raised his sword-like eyebrows. What childhood sweethearts! We weren't all that familiar. PFFF. Su Luo let out a laugh. This guy could seriously lie through his teeth. Humph. Humph. Not very familiar? At that time on Sunset Mountain Range, who was it that tossed me aside into a magical beast stampede to turn around to save that something fairy? Su Luo unhesitantly dug up the old accounts. Chapter 1024, Sudden Change in Travel Plans, 7. Nangong Luyuan, a little embarrassed, touched his nose. However, he couldn't refute those words. The him of that time was like the current Situ Ming, deceived by Li Yaoyao's exterior pureness and kind-heartedness. Seeing Nangong Luyuan feeling embarrassed, Su Luo very generously waved her hand. Forget it, seeing that your behavior today was not bad. I'll forget that old account and write it off. Let bygones be bygones. Nangong Luyun embraced Su Luo. His strong figure covered hers as he heavily seized those alluring red lips of hers. The distance between the tent and the bonfire was really not that far. Su Luo and Nangong Luyun also didn't deliberately hide their dialogue. And all the ones present were also experts with high cultivation, with sharp ears and keen eyes. Thus, Su Luo and Nangong Luyun's dialogue was clearly transmitted to the outside. Under Situ Ming's treatment, with great difficulty, Li Yaoyao regained consciousness. After hearing their dialogue, she nearly vomited out a mouthful of blood. Third senior brother actually said he was not very familiar with her. Not very familiar. Li Yaoyao's entire body felt unbalanced, lightheaded, and extremely unwell. Yaoyao, you. Situ Ming's crystal-colored icy pupils showed a trace of deep concern. What are you planning to do? Nangong Luyun's attitude was already very clear. Who he liked, who he loathed, he had already made it very clear. If they pestered him again, this? Li Yaoyao raised her palm-sized small face, and the rims of her eyes filled with tears. She imploringly gazed at Situ Ming. Second senior brother, don't tell me you also want me to give up? Li Yaoyao's eyelashes were jet black and thick, but were moistened with specks of sparkling and translucent dewdrops. Her appearance made people take pity on her and feel extreme tenderness towards her. Situ Ming really wanted to say, if you don't give up, then what? But seeing Li Yaoyao, with such a pitiful appearance, he swallowed back these words at the edge of his mouth. Second senior brother, from childhood to now, only you treated me the best. No matter what I wanted, no matter how difficult it was, second senior brother would accomplish it for me. Isn't it so? Li Yaoyao tightly pulled Situ Ming to a stop. Her crystal-like eyes were full of expectation. Situ Ming's chest couldn't help but feel suffocated. Second senior brother, you will help me, right? Li Yaoyao painfully covered her chest. If I don't have third senior brother, I might as well die. Yaoyao, Situ Ming said with emphasis. Second senior brother, I really will die. On Li Yaoyao's picturesque facial features, her eyes were filled with hope. Situ Ming had no choice. He only sighed heavily. What do you want to do? Just now, the sound of Nangong Luyun and Su Luo's dialogue could clearly be heard. That was because Nangong Luyun deliberately did it. However, Li Yaoyao and Situ Ming's conversation couldn't be transmitted out. Because from the very beginning, Situ Ming had already set up a soundproofing circle in their surroundings. Li Yaoyao's curled eyelashes slightly fanned a few times. In a timid-looking and frail manner, she looked at Situ Ming. If I could only return to the past, then how great would that be? At that time, third senior brother was very good to her. He never reproached her with any harsh words. Unlike now, how could Situ Ming not hear clearly the hint in Li Yaoyao's words? It was impossible to return to the past, but to return to the state it was in the past. If that girl called Su Luo had never appeared, if that girl called Su Luo would disappear without a trace. A ripple swept through the bottom of Situ Ming's heart. Thousands of thoughts went through his head. Li Yaoyao watched as Situ Ming racked his brain with brows creased. From an angle no one could see, the corner of her mouth slightly lifted into a shallow sneer. Her vermilion red lips were alluring as blood, ice-cold and cruel. Second senior brother, you must by all means not disappoint me, oh. Chapter 1025, Attack from the Strong, 1. The next day, early in the morning, after the first snowfall cleared, the sky was a pure azure color. When Su Luo got up, she didn't see those two people. Why did they leave? Su Luo asked in puzzlement. She had thought that they would be together with that Jade Lakes fairy in the journey ahead. She had already made the difficult mental preparations. But who would have thought, early in the morning, she didn't see a trace of the other side's figures. They left just after midnight. Nangong Luyun helped Su Luo fasten some buttons, and then carefully placed the hat over her head. Li Yaoyao would be so willing to leave just like this? Could it be she is scheming something? Su Luo muttered. Nangong Luyun laughingly pinched Su Luo's tender cheeks. My Luo Luo would still care about any scheme she comes up with? Su Luo lifted her palm-sized small face and blinked her beautiful pitch-black eyes. Other things, I'm not worried about. I'm just worried about you. Nangong Luyun laughed out loud and tapped her bright and clean forehead. Other things, I dare not say, but this point, I can absolutely guarantee you. Even if you were to drive me away, I won't leave. Su Luo pursed her thin lips. She had originally wanted to feign indifference, but when her eyes met Nangong Luyun's, they both exchanged a look and laughed. After everything was properly tidied up, the two of them once again rushed to the north together. As if the appearance of Li Yaoyao and Situ Ming was like a small stone thrown into a lake. After giving rise to a very small ripple, very quickly, it vanished from sight. The further north they traveled, the more desolate it was. Eventually, until as far as the eyes could see, there was only a vast expanse of white. All colors were buried in a world of ice and snow. What could be seen besides white was still white. At first, when entering this place of ice and snow, Su Luo was still a bit curious, but after several days in succession of the same color, she inevitably became somewhat impatient. There is still a distance of 7 to 8 days from our destination. This road is really long. Su Luo leaned against the soft cushion, her gaze staring at the map while lost in thought. This map was given by Master. On it, every road sign was marked in detail. Nangong Luyun embraced Su Luo and asked with deep concern, "Bored?" Su Luo found a comfortable position in his embrace, contentedly reclined against him and nodded her head to say, "Dull, boring, and uninteresting." Nangong Luyun laughed in spite of himself. Dull and boring, although uninteresting, it represents safety. What's not good about it? Nangong Luyun smilingly asked. Su Luo momentarily was at a loss for words. What Nangong Luyun said was also not wrong. At least there wasn't the Jade Lakesley family chasing to kill her. There also wasn't old Witch Yin Xia chasing to kill her. Just when Su Luo was about to agree with Nangong Luyun's point of view, all of a sudden, a touch of graveness flashed across Nangong Luyun's face. What's wrong? Su Luo's expression also turned grave immediately afterwards. Stay in the carriage. Don't move. Nangong Luyun's gaze when looking outside the carriage was cold, hard, and sharp. Su Luo nodded slightly. You must be careful. Nangong Luyun nodded towards her, then he turned around and jumped down from the horse carriage. Capable of making Nangong Luyun's kind of high expert have restrained fear. It could clearly be seen that the other side's strength was also not bad. After Nangong Luyun went out, Su Luo stayed in the horse carriage by herself. She bent an ear to listen attentively and didn't discover the slightest bit of movement. After waiting for a long time, Su Luo finally used her fingertips to quietly lift up the carriage's curtain and stealthily looked out. In the vast expanse of snow, Nangong Luyun's tall rear view, with his robes pulled by the wind, gave off a respected, domineering manner that came from within. At this moment, he was standing upright just like that, steady and tranquil, as if he was the only person that remained in this world. All of a sudden, a large spirit fluctuation wildly shot towards him from the distance. Su Luo's heart violently throbbed. She had a very bad premonition about this. Chapter 1026, Attack from the Strong. 2. Sure enough, as Su Luo had anticipated, the situation had become very ugly. At this moment, 3 magical beasts rushed down from the mountain of snow towards them. These 3 magical beasts were several times larger than an elephant, with 2 sharp, ivory, spear point-like teeth that gave off a murderous cold light in the snow. It was sinister and frightening. In the split second they appeared, Su Luo felt a vicious murderous intent hitting her in the face. Her heart suddenly contracted at this moment, a sharp pain arising. Such strong murderous intent. These 3 magical beasts were very powerful. Just merely a release of murderous intent nearly pressured her to suffocate, her heart almost shattering into pieces. Nangong Luyun, with his sleeves pulled by the wind, stood motionlessly in place. His body gave off an endless battle intent. He successfully attracted all three magical beasts' attention to him. When the three magical beasts closed in around Nangong Luyun to rush towards him, Nangong Luyun finally moved. In the world of ice and snow, Nangong Luyun's figure was like a wisp of light smoke. Unexpectedly, he disappeared in place. The three magical beasts looked at each other in dismay. Very quickly, Nangong Luyun's figure appeared in another position. His speed was very fast, so fast as to be in the blink of an eye. He was so fast that it nearly dazzled the three magical beasts' eyes. Nangong Luyun, who had appeared in mid-air, suddenly brandished a double-edged sword to chop down. Nangong Luyun was at the beginning of 10th rank. That sword blade, containing all the spirit power between heaven and earth. With a wave of that double-edged sword, a move seemingly average and dull, but contained the inquisitive spirit power of the world. Slice, one could only hear the sound of the double-edged sword cutting through flesh. One of the hind legs of the magical beasts was hit by Nangong, with blood rushing up to a high height. Nangong Luyun's eyelids wrinkled slightly. He used 70% of his power, and the other side only suffered damage on a hind leg. Moreover, the hind hoof wasn't even cut off. Could it be that those three magical beasts were? In the horse carriage, Su Luo's eyes narrowed slightly, cold sweat pouring out on her pale face, with drops of sweat falling down. Her expression was full of pain, yet doing her utmost to silently bear it. Her right hand covered her heart, because the battle intent that strong experts gave off, with regards to the current her, was very harmful to her. The dragon-scaled horse was fretful and uneasy as it stepped around in place. It howled in a low voice and whinnied. Su Luo sighed faintly. Nangong Luyun's double-edged sword couldn't even behead it. Clearly, it could be seen as to how rough the other side's fur was and how thick their flesh. With such a formidable defense, and they also lived in the extreme north. Apparently, these three were the kings of the snow lion magical beasts. The reproduction of the snow lion race was extremely difficult. Very few survived, however, their innate skill was very high. With regards to its innate skill, this race could contend against the dragon race. Only, because of the small numbers, it didn't become a well-known formidable race. Reportedly, it was said that only one snow lion was born every century. It was rumored that at birth, they were already at the 5th rank. As they grew up, breaking through the 10th rank was an easy matter for them. Didn't expect that such rare snow lions would actually appear here. Moreover, they would even indiscriminately attack Su Luo and Nangong Luyun. Why was this? As for what's happening on Nangong Luyun's side, Nangong Luyun's double-edged sword chopped down, only wounding the hind leg of the largest snow lion. This one was clearly the older brother. The two behind it were the younger brothers. The two younger brothers saw their older brother being wounded, and their eyes turned bloodshot. Their sharp, pointy teeth suddenly made a sound. Roar! The three snow lions, all in unison, simultaneously let out a world-shaking bellow. Su Luo only felt her internal chi and blood rolling over. She abruptly spit out a mouthful of blood. When these angry roars resounded, it startled the dragon-scaled horse. The dragon-scaled horse raised its hooves up high, and its survival instinct made it run forward. Chapter 10:27 Attack from the Strong. 3. Su Luo, who was inside the carriage, was knocked dizzy, swaying eastwards and falling westwards. The pitiful her had just vomited out a mouthful of blood. She hadn't even taken a breath yet before she encountered such misfortune. The dragon-scaled horse's speed was very fast. Its 4 hooves madly rushed about in the snow. With Su Luo's body's current condition, she simply couldn't steer the dragon-scaled horse. At this moment, she couldn't even say a word, because when she opened her mouth, it would be another mouthful of blood. Fortunately, at this critical moment, the little divine dragon dashed out. The little divine dragon rushed out and slapped one of his claws towards the dragon-scaled horse. The dragon-scaled horse's 4 hooves that were originally raised immediately paused. Afterwards, its whole body softly collapsed onto the snow and laid there motionlessly. The little divine dragon knew how far to go, so he had merely slapped the mad dragon's scaled horse until it fainted. It wasn't like before when he killed those black-clothed people. One slap and their head would shatter into pieces. At this moment, Su Luo was finally able to steady her body. Cough, cough, cough. Su Luo covered her chest and coughed until the sky spun and the ground was obscured. Just now, there was a split second of time when it was dark before her eyes. The heavens spun and the earth went around. She almost felt like she was on the verge of dying. This damned broken body, don't know whether it would ever get better or not. The little divine dragon saw Su Luo cough out mouthful after mouthful of blood, and he became extremely distressed. His little face tightened into creases and continuously circled around Su Luo. With great difficulty, Su Luo finally was able to stop her coughing. She gave a pale, weak smile towards the little divine dragon. It's nothing. I won't die yet. The little divine dragon's pair of big, clear monochrome eyes were misted over with water. Standing, his two little paws grabbed Su Luo's sleeve. Awoo. Very painful, very painful. Not painful. Su Luo shook her head while smiling weakly. Awoo. How could it not be painful? There was a lot of blood on the ground. The little divine dragon's heart ached so much that he nearly cried. Su Luo shook her head, forcing a smile. Master had previously explained that in the extreme north, there was a type of nine-tailed spirit fox. Although its blood couldn't revive a dead person, its medical effect was still pretty good. However, this type of spirit fox's natural disposition was very crafty. It never roamed about in areas where humans lived. Moreover, their population was sparse, and their speed was quick as lightning. Even a 10th-ranked expert might not necessarily be able to catch a living nine-tailed spirit fox. And only a living nine-tailed spirit fox's blood was useful. There was no medical effect from a dead one's blood. But Su Luo raised her eyes to gaze at the boundless snow in the distance, where Nangong Luyuan was still fighting with those 3 snow lions. The fight there was so intense, it was even more unlikely that a crafty, cautious nine-tailed spirit fox would appear. Su Luo shook her head and, with great difficulty, suppressed her rolling qi and blood. There's no nine-tailed spirit fox. We haven't arrived at Xianzwood residence. Maybe it will be over. The little divine dragon could understand human language. These disheartened words of Su Luo's made him increasingly anxious. His little tail swung back and forth, wishing he could immediately go somewhere to grab a nine-tailed spirit fox. Just at this moment, a very small white fox suddenly appeared before Su Luo. In a cautious and guarded manner, it quietly approached. Just now, Su Luo had coughed up a trail of blood, and now, this small fox had actually followed the blood trail, licking clean the bloodstains. It even swallowed the ice and snow with the blood. There really is a fox. This fox is also very bold. Su Luo weakly sat in the snow, leaning against the carriage's wall. She looked at this palm-sized small fox, finding joy in her sorrows. Suddenly, Su Luo felt that this was somewhat strange. This fox, when it had pushed the snow aside to dig for blood to consume, that tail stuck up really high unexpectedly. It wasn't one tail. 1 tail, 2 tails, 3 tails. Quick! It's a 9-tailed spirit fox. Su Luo was so excited that she almost couldn't breathe. Chapter 1028, Attack from the Strong, 4. Was there anything more coincidental than this? Just now, she had kept saying that the 9-tailed spirit fox was difficult to find. Now, a 9-tailed spirit fox had just approached her? Moreover, couldn't this 9-tailed spirit fox eat other things that were better? It actually dug out the blood she had spit out to eat? However, even though Su Luo was excited, she also hadn't lost her senses. Those words of hers were spoken to the little divine dragon with her mind. The two people had signed an equal contract and could communicate with each other in their minds. The little divine dragon, having heard what was said, those 2 damp eyes of his were suddenly like ignited candle flames. In a flash, they shone. Oh, war! The little divine dragon was like a legendary giant bird spreading his wings, with speed quick as light. he suddenly attacked towards the nine-tailed spirit fox. The nine-tailed spirit fox was already very cautious. Its perception for danger completely stemmed from instinct. Just at this moment, the nine-tailed spirit fox's two small claws had clasped a lump of blood, sitting on the ground, chewing it with relish. It raised its head to see a black shadowy thing pouncing towards it. The nine-tailed spirit fox immediately used that half lump of blood it was biting on as a weapon and fiercely tossed it towards the little divine dragon. Afterwards, its palm-sized small body quickly dashed away. How could the little divine dragon allow it to run away? He hurriedly dashed up while shouting and waving a paw. As a result, in this world of ice and snow, there were two shining white small magical beasts, one in front and one behind, one running and one chasing, with speed so quick that it was astonishing. Both of these small magical beasts' forte was speed. Both were heaven's favorite, and their innate skill was superior from birth. Momentarily, it was unexpectedly difficult to decide who was winning. Su Luo, looking on helplessly at those two small things dashed about. For a moment, she was somewhat speechless. At present, this wasn't good. In this land of snow, the dragon-scaled horse had fainted, laying there motionless. She was tossed out of the carriage, leaning against the carriage as she sat on the ground. She also couldn't move. By chance, Su Luo's position allowed her to see the battle in the sky. The two sides' battle was very intense. Seeing those fast after images of their figure flashing by, Su Luo's eyes narrowed slightly. Her gaze was fixedly watching, not moving a bit. Suddenly, a divine light quickly flashed through her mind. So quick that she couldn't catch it with several steps. But this was very important. Extremely important. Because seeing those figures after images flashing by, Su Luo could faintly understand a bit of the real meaning behind teleportation. Su Luo forced herself to recollect everything bit by bit. However, that divine light was like throwing a stone into an ocean, sinking without a trace. She didn't get the slightest reaction. Su Luo gloomily slapped her own head. If she lost this opportunity, don't know when the next opportunity would be for her to understand it. The spirit dance steps law, she had already cultivated from beginning to the end. Although her speed was a lot quicker, but it still had not reached the teleportation stage. Just at this moment, on the snowy vast expanse of whiteness by Su Luo's side, suddenly, an area of white snow stood upright. A long sword drilled out ghost-like from the ground, noiselessly slicing towards Su Luo's throat. That area of snow was not real snow at all. Rather, it was a person. A person that was completely white from his hair to his clothes, to his shoes and socks. His whole body was white. On top of this area being pure white as snow, it was extremely easy to miss him. Even Su Luo only realized it after seeing the reflective light from that cold, double-edged sword. This clearly was an assassination after some careful deliberation. Su Luo's body had already been seriously injured. After the incident when the dragon-scaled horse went mad, her body was even weaker to the extreme confronted with such an ice-cold double-edged sword. How could she avoid it? At present, she couldn't even move. Nangong Luyun, right now, was in the midst of battling three powerful magical beasts, too occupied to attend to other things. The little divine dragon had already left in vigorous pursuit of the nine-tailed spirit fox, leaving absolutely not a trace behind. The variant acacia hadn't recovered from its serious injury. The little stone was still unconscious. What was Su Luo to do right now? Would she be able to avoid this calamity? Chapter 1029, Between Life and Death, 1. Nangong Luyun was in the midst of fighting with the three snow lions, and they were in a deadlock. His speed was very fast, illusory like smoke, making it hard for people to grasp his figure. The three snow lions formed the Chinese character to surrounded Nangong Luyun in mid-air. Glaring like a tiger watching its prey, their imposing manner burst out. Nangong Luyun coldly smiled. In a flash, he put back that double-edged sword. Afterwards, his right hand, from the arm to the fingertips, actually gave off a faint gold color. This arm seemed to have endless fighting strength, invincible, so valiant that it made people's heart throb. The three snow lions looked at each other in dismay, a trace of astonishment flashing in their eyes. However, their instinctive pride made them unable to retreat. Roar, just when the light golden luster on Nangong Liuyun's right arm became increasingly more intense, those three snow lions abruptly rushed towards him. Nangong Liuyun's golden arm slowly circulated the law of heaven and earth, forming band after band of a veined pattern that changed unpredictably. His eyes narrowed slightly. At the last second, he swung that golden fist. Bang! The entire world shook. The surrounding air momentarily ruptured. That fist, radiating endless rays of light, dazzling to the eyes with insufferable arrogance. That arm seemed to extend out countless folds longer in an instant, unceasingly piercing through the sky. The snow lion that flew in the front was instantly smashed by that fist. This defense was formed by the widely known abnormally strong snow lion. This snow lion had the hardest skull, yet that head was unexpectedly smashed into pieces. In a flash, its enormous body was thrown away. It shot backwards towards a distant place, then fell to the ground with a loud bang. A huge hole was smashed into the icy ground covered by millennium-old ice and snow. This was a horribly shocking sight to see. Nangong Liuyun's figure was like electricity, demon-like as it shot towards them, avoiding the attacks by the two snow lions. He had eliminated the eldest. Now, only the second brother and third brother remained. And the hind leg of the third brother had previously been cut by Nangong Liyun, so its strength had dropped by a lot. Bang! A violent fluctuation occurred in midair. A snow lion had changed direction. His four paws stretched out, with scarlet-rimmed eyes. It rushed furiously towards Nangong Liyun. Meanwhile, on a snow-capped mountain not far away, two figures stood there motionless. You should feel at ease. Nothing will happen to third junior brother. Situ Ming saw Li Yaoyao nervously staring, unable to take her eyes off the fight, and couldn't help but speak to comfort her. At the same time, he also inevitably had a somewhat wrong taste in his heart. Third junior brother treated her like this, and her heart staunchly only thought of him. No matter how optimistic he might be, in the end, it was still difficult for him to be at peace with this idea. Li Yaoyao watched that battle, her eyes unblinkingly staring at it. Very clearly, she was truly nervous. Right? What you said isn't wrong. Nothing will happen to third senior brother. It's impossible for something to happen to him. Li Yaoyao pursed her lower lip. A thread of resoluteness flashed through her eyes. Situ Ming turned sideways, looking at the delicate complexion beside him. He heaved a faint sigh. Second senior brother, are you regretting it? Li Yaoyao changed her expression and pitifully gazed at Situ Ming. Situ Ming did a favor for the eldest of the snow lions. When he went to find the oldest, which he had saved back then, with the keepsake, the snow lion had agreed to help him. Yaoyao, this favor originally could have been exchanged for something better, but now, it was used on this matter of sending away third junior brother. Is it really worth it? It wasn't because Situ Ming hated to part with this favor. After all, if it was something that could make Li Yaoyao happy, even if it required his life, he would still do it. Only, wasn't this not enough gain to make up for the losses? After all, having a snow lion owe you a favor wasn't an easy matter. Chapter 1030. Between Life and Death, 2. Li Yaoyao pursed her lips and shook her head with unswerving determination. No, it's very much worth it, because, if it wasn't for the snow lions drawing Nangong Liyun away, she simply would never have the opportunity to move against Su Luo, that cheap girl. Third senior brother really treasured that cheap girl too much, as if Su Luo, that cheap girl, would die if he left her side. Just as if she was tied to his waist, taking her along to wherever he goes, closely protecting her. She simply wasn't given a chance to move against her. The person you found, will he really be able to kill Su Luo? Situ Ming's expression was somewhat complicated. That girl's appearance was nearly identical to Master's most treasured wooden carving. Clearly, it could be seen there definitely was a connection between them two. If Master knew, Situ Ming simply didn't dare to imagine that kind of consequences. If they succeeded in one strike, then fine. If they let the other side escape, it simply would cause no end of trouble. He came. Li Yaoyao was looking off in the distance. A white shadow quietly approached Su Luo, and a double-edged sword ferociously thrust towards Su Luo's throat. Second senior brother, believe in me, Su Luo undoubtedly will die this time. Li Yaoyao's eyes narrowed sinisterly with excitement ignited in her eyes. With Su Luo dead, third senior brother would be hers. Li Yaoyao excitedly clenched her fists, her nails digging deeply into her flesh, but she completely paid no attention to it. As for what was happening on Su Luo's side, the murderous cold double-edged sword ruthlessly stabbed towards Su Luo's neck. Just at this moment of imminent peril, Su Luo's gaze turned towards Nangong Luyun. She saw Nangong Luyun hurriedly crush the second snow lion to death. She saw Nangong Luyun turn his head back. She saw his eyes going from stunned to despair to disbelief. She saw him recklessly rush towards her. His speed was extremely quick. However, the double-edged sword was already before her eyes. It was already too late. Just at this critical moment, seeing Nangong Liyuyun's speed that nearly defied the natural order of things, those after images that flashed through her head one by one, a divine light suddenly flashed through Su Luo's mind. Moreover, she was finally able to catch this divine light. To step on and destroy the afterimages must pierce through the void. Su Luo only felt a heat quickly rise from her pubic region, transferring to her legs. Teleport. Su Luo only felt that her entire body seemed to be placed in a void. Originally, she was only separated by the paper on a window from the actual facts. Now, the paper on the window was poked open. Su Luo felt as if it were a lifetime ago. Just at this moment of a fine line between life and death, she actually comprehended the true meaning of integrating the spirit dance steps with space. Teleport. She actually learned to teleport. Even though it was only a short 10 meters distance, this nonetheless demonstrated that she already had set foot in the doorway of this law. Su Luo escaped like a fish in water. That person with white clothes and white hair had believed success was within grasp. The result was that he actually came up empty. How could he possibly accept this kind of failure? The double-edged sword reversed directions and once again stabbed towards Su Luo's back. Just now, Su Luo had disappeared in the blink of an eye, and in another eye blink, appeared 10 meters away. The white-clothed person only thought it was because his own vision blurred and never even thought in the direction of teleportation. After all, in this world, to reach understanding to the law of teleportation only existed in legends. In the real world, it had already been lost long ago, let alone to say, whose family's teleportation was only 10 meters. As a result, it simply never occurred to him. The double-edged sword was like a viper, tightly nipping at Su Luo, not letting go. Seeing that the person was about to stab Su Luo's back again. Teleport. Su Luo swallowed a spirit restoration pill and, relying on the little bit of recovered spirit power, she once again left by teleport. That white-clothed person was momentarily struck dumb. He completely couldn't understand how this person could vanish time after time. If it was because his vision blurred, how could his vision continuously blur twice in a row? I'll stab. The white-clothed person gritted his teeth, rushing towards Su Luo and once more ferociously stabbed at her back. Chapter 1031, Between Life and Death, 3, at the same time. He arranged an imprisonment with a range of 100 meters, confining Su Luo's movements. He just didn't believe that this time, he would still let Su Luo escape. This time, the white-clothed person used 100% of his strength. This thrust had all his strength placed in it. He opened his eyes wide, afraid that this time, his vision would blur once again. However, he didn't know that he would never be blurry-eyed again. because he had already fallen down for eternity, never to wake up again. Nangong Liuyun's berserk golden fist that emitted an endless violent energy heavily smashed towards his back. All of the white-clothed person's bones rapidly cracked, shattering into pieces, until finally, he turned into a lump of minced meat, falling softly to the ground. Up ahead, Su Luo staggered and almost fell down. Nangong Luyun turned around and went to her. With quick steps, he caught her and placed her tightly in his embrace. Luo Luo. Nangong Luyun stared at her nervously, examining her body from head to toe. From the moment he saw that long sword thrust towards Su Luo until now, Nangong Liuyun's figure still trembled slightly. Damn it! With this examination, Nangong Luyun got so angry that he nearly went crazy. His precious Luluith these days, he had carefully attended to her with all of his heart. And with great difficulty, he had finally gotten a little healthy color from Luo Luo. Now, her body's internal organs and veins were in disorder. Even more, the lapel of her coat was mottled with bloodstains. Falling into his embrace, Su Luo opened her pair of weak eyes. The corners of her mouth slowly formed a gorgeous smile. Nangong, I just knew you would rush over. Nangong Liuyun's pair of icy, gloomy, cold, and bloodthirsty eyes. At the corners of his eyes, he restrained them slightly, but it was full of self-blame. Luo Luo, I almost lost you again. He had vowed before that he would never let her get hurt again. He had vowed to protect her well. But now, she was hurt right in front of his eyes. A breeze caressed his jet-black as ink hair. That beautiful and exquisite appearance was full of heartache and guilt. Su Luo smiled weakly. Don't blame yourself, it's not your fault. No, it's my fault. Nangong Luyun said, the snow lion would never attack us without cause or reason. The reason for this is well worth thinking over. Nangong Liuyun's gaze turned to that white-clothed person's badly mutilated body. His pitch-black, ink-like eyes emitted a faint, hidden light with a strange, measuring look. No one knew what Nangong Luyun was thinking. The wounds on your body, the bright red blood on the front of Su Luo's body deeply stung his pair of eyes. Nangong Liuyun's pair of eyes narrowed slightly, springing up with a ruthlessness. The little divine dragon left to hunt down the nine-tailed spirit fox. Hopefully he can capture it. Su Luo weakly rested her head against his chest, rubbing against it for a moment, searching for a comfortable position to lean against. Earlier, when she was avoiding the white-clothed person, she used teleport twice in a row, almost exhausting all of her strength. At this time, she always felt as if oxygen was being extracted out from her brain, leaving a blank sheet. Moreover, she felt so nauseated that she wanted to vomit. Seeing Su Luo's pale appearance, Nangong Luyun once again hated that he wasn't an apothecary. We'll go look for the little divine dragon. He had never been the kind of person to sit and wait for death, or to entrust to chance rather than show initiative. His policy was always to take the initiative to attack. With a quick turn of his agile body, Nangong Luyun got up and slapped awake the dragon-scaled horse. Very quickly, they were far away from this blood-stained, snow-covered ground. Were all three beasts killed? Su Luo, who had suffered excessive blood loss, kept feeling like her whole body was cold and was unable to stop shivering. I killed two. Nangong Liuyun's appearance was cold and stiff, and his gaze was extremely cold like iron. However, when he spoke to Su Luo, his gaze was so tender and warm that water could drip out. Releasing the tiger back into the mountains will cause no end of trouble. Su Luo's tone carried regret that didn't disperse for a long time. The snow lion species race, because it had low numbers, so they were very united. Moreover, they liked to hold grudges. They would certainly seek revenge. Chapter 1032. Between Life and Death. 4. If all three of them were killed together, then it would be fine, but Nangong Luyun just so happened to let one go. Su Luo knew considering Nangong Liuyun's strength, knowledge, and experience, How could he have let one go? It was because he had seen her in danger that he had abandoned the third snow lion and turned around to save her. Nangong Luyun sent an endless stream of spirit strength from his palm to Su Luo's chest cavity. Originally, after soaking in Grandmaster Rong Yun's medicinal bath for 7 days, Su Luo's body had already gotten a little better and no longer needed to have spirit strength injected into her every day. However, after going through this battle, Su Luo's body returned to the state it was before her liberation from the bath. In a single night, beaten back to its previous state. At this moment, a lustrous radiance circulated between the two figures as spiritual energy flowed all over the place. Yet, speaking of that snowy mountain peak, Li Yaoyao watched everything unfold before her eyes with a dumbstruck expression. It was simply too hard to believe. She stared until Situ Ming once again called her name. Yaoyao, Yaoyao. At this time, Li Yaoyao had already bitten her lip until a trace of blood appeared. Why is it like this? Li Yaoyao's figure trembled slightly, almost on the verge of collapse. Her voice was very soft, as if asking a question, but also seemed as if she was muttering to herself. At this moment, she was engrossed in her own world. Confused and in disbelief, no matter what, she couldn't walk out of it. Situ Ming's heart ached as he watched the Li Yaoyao before him, unsure how to comfort her. Why? Why didn't she die? Why? Li Yaoyao frantically shook Situ Ming's arms with great strength in her grip, nearly pinching into Situ Ming's flesh. Little junior sister, calm down, calm down. Situ Ming stroked Li Yaoyao's hair, consoling her in a soft tone. The matter is already like this. You should just accept the reality. The fact that Su Luo wasn't killed allowed Situ Ming to let out a breath of relief inwardly. Because, when he saw Su Luo, he would always think of his master's secretive, measuring, and mysterious eyes. Every time he thought of Master, his heart couldn't help but to hold Master in high esteem and to revere him. Second senior brother, I'm unwilling to accept this. I'm really unwilling to accept this. Li Yaoyao's pair of eyes was scarlet red, deranged like a lunatic. Yaoyao, how can your appearance become like this now? The second half of his sentence. Situ Ming's mouth opened slightly, but couldn't say a word. He was afraid he would hurt Li Yaoyao. Second senior brother, help me one more time, okay? Li Yaoyao continuously beseeched him. Both of her eyes were full of appeal, hope, and expectation. But Situ Ming slowly turned his face away. Second senior brother, even you don't like me anymore? Boo-hoo, Li Yaoyao pulled out her final trump card. Crying with the tear-stained face of a beauty, she looked very pitiful. How could Situ Ming endure the pleas and tears of his goddess? He stroked Li Yaoyao's soft hair and finally made a firm resolution. Don't cry anymore. Second senior brother promises you. Okay. Situ Ming suddenly thought of his master's pair of deep, pitch-black eyes. However, he deliberately ignored it. What could be more important than little junior sister's smiling face? Second senior brother treats me the best. Li Yaoyao sniffled as she got rid of her tears and smiled. She pulled on Situ Ming's arm intimately, acting like a spoiled child as she rubbed against him. With second senior brother by Yaoyao's side, then Yaoyao won't be afraid of anything. Looking at this childish girl before him, Situ Ming laughed bitterly again and again. If he was really this great, then why didn't this girl choose him instead? At this time, Situ Ming, who was gazing at Li Yaoyao with deep emotions, the hand at his side clenched tightly into a fist. Everything he did was by following his heart. It shouldn't be wrong, right? However, Situ Ming had never expected how the person he gave everything to love, cherish, and protect would ultimately treat him in the not-too-distant future. Chapter 1033, Between Life and Death, 5. Su Luo's breathing was getting weaker and weaker in his arms. Nangong Luyun poured out a few vitality pills and crushed them into fine powder. With some water, he gave it to Su Luo to swallow. Su Luo nodded weakly. I'm still okay. What do you mean you're okay? You're already like this. Nangong Luyun stared at Su Luo with self-blame and pain as he spoke in a bad mood. Su Luo's palm-sized small face creased. It's bitter. Every other aspect of the vitality pill's master refined was good. It's just that it was bitter. Nangong Luyun didn't say anything more. In one mouthful, he finished the water in the cup and then his body bent over hers. Su Luo was compelled to accept his mouth-to-mouth feeding. Is it still bitter like this? Nangong Luyun's sharp eyebrows slanted upwards. Su Luo's small face wrinkled and shook her head cutely. Right at this moment, Su Luo's crystal-like eyes suddenly lit up. The little divine dragon is coming. She and the little divine dragon had agreed to and signed a contract of equality. Just now, in her mind, she could hear the little divine dragon's cheer of victory. Not long after, the little divine dragon leaped into the carriage in a bouncing and vivacious manner. At this time, he was holding a furry, snow-white little thing in his mouth. Nine-tailed spirit fox? Nangong Luyun was slightly moved. Things that Grandmaster Rong Yun had asked him to look out for, he had kept in mind. From start to finish on this journey, he had always been paying attention to the sides of the road, but there wasn't even a trace of a footprint. He had never thought that this little dragon would be this amazing, directly bringing back the nine-tailed spirit fox in his mouth. Oh, it was pretending to be dead. I just knocked it out. The little divine dragon jumped into Su Luo's arms with his little tail raised up high, looking immensely proud of himself, taking credit for his achievement. His whole appearance was like that of a lively brat. Su Luo smiled as she gently caressed the little divine dragon's slightly messy fur. Definitely worthy of being called the dragon race's most noble bloodlinearly amazing. The little divine dragon heard this praise and became even more excited. He proudly stuffed his prey, the nine-tailed spirit fox, into Su Luo's hand. As expected, the little divine dragon had some intelligence. The most precious aspect about the nine-tailed spirit foxes was its blood. Right now, it was only knocked out without a single cut on its body. Nangong Luyun took out his dagger and aimed it at the nine-tailed spirit fox's neck and was about to slice down. Although the nine-tailed spirit fox was precious, but compared to his darling Luo's body, then it's nothing at all. Just at this moment, the nine-tailed spirit fox suddenly regained consciousness. However, when the nine-tailed spirit fox opened its eyes and looked towards Nangong Luyun, it could not help but shake slightly. Subconsciously, it curled up in fear. What a powerful human! The person before its eyes, under a seemingly tranquil and fluid glance, hit a sharp edge like a hawk's. He had the unsurpassed oppressive powers of a strong expert, which astonished the hearts of others. The nine-tailed spirit fox's eyes, which were originally glancing about randomly, drooped down in a flash. Its body rolled up into a ball, similar to a hedgehog. When Nangong Luyun lifted it by the ear, it was still curled up into a round ball. Nangong Luyun simply couldn't find its neck. Nangong Luyun's thick eyebrows knitted slightly. Then, he immediately flipped it over and lifted up the little spirit fox by its two little feet. Consequently, the pitiful nine-tailed spirit fox was forced to hang upside down and swing back and forth miserably in Nangong Luyun's hand. Its pair of black limpid eyes looked towards Su Luo miserably, wanting to sob, looking extremely aggrieved. Just at this moment, Su Luo's suddenly eyes lit up. Hold on, Nangong Luyun looked back at her warmly. What is it? Su Luo was in extremely high spirits. As she pulled at Nangong Luyun's hand, her eyes were full of brilliance like the tossing of waves. I have a way. Say it. Nangong Luyun helped her sit up. His eyes gathered a splendor akin to bright stones. With a warm smile, he single-mindedly concentrated on gazing at her, as if there was only her alone in the world. In his eyes, there was only her. Su Luo, full of spirit, said, "The nine-tailed spirit fox is extremely rare. To kill one, there's one less. Moreover, if you kill it now, you can only use it once. Chapter 1034. At the time of life or death. 6. However, it's only this big. Nangong Luyun gestured at the nine-tailed spirit fox's size. Doesn't seem to have much blood. Moreover, the nine-tailed spirit fox's most precious thing was its heart's blood. That's a rarely seen, once in a millennium, wonderful medicine. What if we feed it a vitality pill? Su Luo's beautiful eyes turned quick-wittedly, flashing with a crafty radiance. No, you don't have a lot of vitality pills left. When it involved the topic of Su Luo's health, Nangong Luyun, as usual, held fast to his principle and did not budge an inch. Aya, feed it a vitality pill, then I'll drink its blood. Isn't that fine? Su Luo nearly rolled her eyes. Nangong Luyun leaned back in the carriage, with his beautiful, lily-white hands grasping the nine-tailed spirit fox which had fainted. With a single thought, he could decide the life or death of this little spirit fox which had already survived for several hundred years. Let's try it first. Nangong Luyun's eyes shone and dazzled like crystal stones, flashing with rays of light. If it was truly like Su Luo said, then it could still be considered as a good method. There wouldn't be much of a loss in treating this nine-tailed spirit fox as a medicine pot. Su Luo placated the little pitiful one. If you take this medicine, you can still live. If you don't take it, then all that's left for you is death. The nine-tailed spirit fox was extremely intelligent. It hadn't signed a contract with Su Luo, but it still understood human speech. The vitality pills distributed a spiritual strength that was full of strength. The nine-tailed spirit fox liked it instinctively. So, it didn't wait to be fed and rushed forward on its own towards Su Luo's hand, immediately swallowing that pea-sized pill. The vitality pill, as the name implied, had a function of improving one's physiology. A Grandmaster-level vitality pill was consumed. The originally wobbly nine-tailed spirit fox, in an instant, seemed to have been injected with chicken blood. Its eyes were suddenly flooded with brilliant lights and vibrant colors, giving off spirit energy from head to toe. Nangong Luyun's eyes flickered. Seems like it was really useful. He didn't say anything further and grabbed the nine-tailed spirit fox's little paw, cutting down with a single slice. The nine-tailed spirit fox cowered and trembled with fear as it watched this incomparably formidable human, not daring to have even a thought of resisting. After letting out a tiny cup of the nine-tailed spirit fox's blood, Nangong Luyun then cast the fox aside and held the cup towards Su Luo. The nine-tailed spirit fox, which was tossed aside, looked at its ugly wound and wanted to sob. The little divine dragon walked close to it and then licked the wound a few times. Very quickly, the wound stopped bleeding. Which part of the little divine dragon's body wasn't a treasure? Even his saliva was a treasure. Placed on the market, this saliva was the best panacea for injury. Watch it. Don't let it escape. Nangong Luyun instructed the little divine dragon, without even looking back. The little divine dragon was disdainful of anyone and always had a proud and arrogant appearance. However, towards Nangong Luyun, he had a kind of reverence that rose from deep within his heart. As a result, he had always listened to Nangong Luyun's words as if it was an imperial edict. Consequently, the little divine dragon was like a prison guard watching the convict in a prison, biting its tail, circling around that pitiful nine-tailed spirit fox. The nine-tailed spirit fox wanted to cry but had no tears. Wasn't it just being a bit gluttonous? Didn't it just consume one thing? How did it end up becoming someone else's blood bank? Boo-hoo, boo-hoo. After Su Luo drank the nine-tailed spirit fox's blood, she felt a warm yet cool feeling in her abdomen. The blood which had been rolling over and over from before seemed to be choked off and gradually calmed down. In the end, she leaned against Nangong Luyun's chest and fell into a deep sleep. Time passed, bit by bit. The sky darkened and then brightened again. The speed of the dragon-scaled horse was very fast, letting go of all four hooves. It was as if they were cutting out a white ray of light in midair, with speed as fast as a meteor. However, just when the color of the sky started to brighten, Nangong Luyun's eyebrows knitted slightly. Chapter 1035, Between Life and Death, 7. Su Luo opened her eyes. What she saw was Nangong Liuyun's black eyes that shone with a spirited, cold, and dazzling light. His face seemed to have been carved with a knife, extraordinarily handsome. His elegant, satin-like, fine black hair also swayed in a carefree manner in the wind over his shoulder. He was very beautiful, so beautiful that it enticed the hearts of people. For a moment, Su Luo felt like she was bewitched, stupefied by his beauty. "How is it? Do you feel a little more comfortable?" Nangong Liuyun's dark red vermilion lips curled up, and his deep, beautiful eyes looked at Su Luo with deep concern. Su Luo took a deep breath. Previously, her lungs were so unbearably hot that it hurt, to the extent that even inhaling a mouthful of air nearly made her pass out from the pain. However, now, Su Luo took a deep breath and sucked in a mouthful of sweet, scented air. Much better than before. It doesn't hurt as much as before. Su Luo's face, which was originally as pale as paper, now seemed to have a faint rosiness. Nangong Luyun didn't feel at ease and grabbed her slender hand to take her pulse carefully. He also used his spirit energy to sort out her body thoroughly. It was only after he made sure that there weren't any major problems did his manner relax somewhat. Su Luo continuously looked at him warmly. This time, she injured her body seriously, but Nangong Luyun was injured in the heart. She had turned a demonically enchanting, cruel, untamed, powerful, aggressive, most honored and kingly person into a docile man who helps her dress, feeds her, washes her hands, and cooks soup for her. Of course, he was docile only towards her. "What are you laughing at? With that foolish expression all over your face?" Nangong Luyun helped Su Luo tidy up her sleeves. Then he raised his eyes to see this girl smiling foolishly and hooked her nose lovingly. The more Su Luo looked at Nangong Luyun, the more satisfied she became. Able to pick up such a good man really was a meat pie falling from the sky. One could only come across such things serendipitously. It seemed that heaven still cared for her a lot. "Nangong, after we return, let's get." Before the word married could emerge, and Su Luo still had a smile at the corners of her mouth. However, an unforeseen event suddenly occurred at this moment. From far away, a fierce yell could be heard faintly. The yell was fierce as if heaven and earth was shaking, while the earth cracked and broke open. Su Luo's expression froze slightly. "This is the snow lion that escaped." Nangong Liuyun's expression was somewhat unsightly. At that time, Nangong Luyun urgently had to save Su Luo, so gave it an opportunity to escape. Never expected that after being injured it actually stayed here and hadn't returned to its community. Opportunity only knocks once. "Hurry up and go." Su Luo hurriedly urged him. She knew how the Snow Lion's ethnic group would definitely avenge a hatred. If this Snow Lion was beheaded here, then the follow-up danger would be eliminated. So they wouldn't need to constantly worry that the Snow Lion community would attack them. "Hey!" Nangong Luyun commanded the dragon-scaled horse to accelerate its speed. In fact, if you flew over there. Su Luo had only spoken half a sentence before she was interrupted. Luo, I can't possibly leave you by yourself." The fear from nearly losing her before was still vivid in his mind. Just recalling it made him tremble from head to toe. How could he still possibly leave Luo behind by herself? Even though if it was only 1 in 10,000th of a possibility, Nangong Luyun wouldn't take this risk. "It's all my fault for burdening you." Su Luo pursed her pale lips, her little head hanging down in self-blame. Now the sickly her was just a burden. Nangong Luyun really loved this pitiful little appearance of Su Luo's to death. Su Luo's this kind of appearance gave him a sense of security of being able to lovingly spoil her. "Foolish girl, do you want me die from self-blame?" Nangong Luyun tenderly stroked her satin-like, supple hair. Su Luo leaned against his shoulder. A smile spread across her face. Sour and sweet feelings interweaved in her heart, gradually forming into a jar of blissful wine. Chapter 1036, Between Life and Death, 8. The dragon-scaled horse's speed was very fast. In the blink of an eye, they had reached the location of the sound. Stay in the carriage. You're not allowed to get out. Nangong Luyuan repeatedly instructed her. After he finished making it clear to Su Luo, he slapped the dragon-scaled horse's head heavily. Previously, because of the foolish thing the dragon-scaled horse had done, Nangong Luyuan had already punished it ruthlessly. At this moment, seeing Nangong Luyuan's gaze slanting towards it, the dragon-scaled horse lowered its head in shame. Humph! Nangong Luyuan scoffed loudly. Then, moving quickly, he left. Just as Su Luo had said, the task of eliminating the third snow lion was his unshirkable duty. However, when Nangong Luyuan came out of the carriage and saw the scene before his eyes, he still paused a bit. There were two human figures up ahead engaged in a battle with the snow lion. These two people Nangong Luyuan was very familiar with them. A single fist from Nangong Luyuan could blast the snow lion into dregs. However, to many other people, the snow lion's power was still very hard for them to hold off. At this moment, the two people who were battling against the snow lion together, one was Bai Qining, while the other actually was Ziyan. Although Bai Qining and Ziyan's strengths weren't bad, but despite joining together to fight an injured snow lion, they were still at a disadvantage. At present, they were surrounded by perils and in serious crisis. Currently, the snow lion had already gone crazy, appearing very violent. That sharp teeth gave off an extremely cold light. Suddenly, the snow lion pounced towards Ziyin. Bai Qining bellowed. An endless fiery blaze attacked the snow lion. The snow lion abandoned Ziyin and turned around to pounce towards Bai Qining instead. It flew, pouncing down from above with its bloody mouth wide open. That appearance was sinister and terrifying. Currently, Bai Qining and Ziyin both had wounds all over their bodies, with fresh blood splashing bit by bit onto the ground. After fighting for so long, they had already reached the verge of exhaustion. Although the snow lion's body seemed cumbersome, but its speed was actually as fast as light. In the blink of an eye, it pounced on Bai Qining and toppled him onto the ground. Its sharp hunting teeth suddenly stabbed towards Bai Qining's throat. No! Ziyin screamed urgently and did her utmost to rush up. However, how could Ziyan's speed beat the snow lion's speed? She could only watch as Bai Qining was about to lose his life to this mad snow lion's hunting teeth. Just at this moment of imminent peril, Nangong Luyuan's figure descended like a god. One could see him dressed in an ink-black wide gown with his fine black hair casually tied up with a red silk string. His cruel, untamed, and violent appearance was also pretty, flirtatious, and moving. A gentle wind blew across, and the tassels at his waist was wind-borne and danced willfully. The hem of his luxurious, soft gown was like a warm cloud, a flowing light that held back the shadows. Second brother, Bai Qining, who had been toppled to the ground by the snow lion, suddenly, his eyes lit up. Just at this moment, an ink-black longsword emerged from Nangong Luyuan's hands. The longsword was like a deep, clear spring, pure white like snow. The longsword that had condensed an endless amount of spirit power, suddenly slashed heavily across the snow lion's back. To the snow lion that was known for its strong defense, its hard backbone was struck and broke in a flash, emitting a burst of snapping sounds. The snow lion turned back, raising its head painfully to glare at Nangong Luyuan with anger and hatred interweaving in its eyes. However, without waiting for it to jump up to attack, Nangong Luyuan turned to ruthlessly chop off the snow lion's forelegs. Even with Bai Qining and Ziyin joined together, they still were tyrannized terribly by the snow lion. However, the moment Nangong Luyuan arrived, the situation was completely overturned. Crashed, the snow lion's foreleg was chopped off, and fresh blood gushed out. The snow lion only had 4 legs, but one foreleg and one hind leg had been destroyed by Nangong Luyuan. Now, the snow lion couldn't even stand on its feet. Astonishment sprouted in its heart. It turned around, wanting to run away. Chapter 1037. Everyone assembled. 1. The snow lion turned around and was about to run. Its survival instinct made its speed soar to the peak. The snow lion really wanted to run, but how could Nangong Luyun give it such an opportunity? This snow lion almost killed his treasured Luo Luo, almost killed his brother. How could Nangong Luyun let him leave? Nangong Luyun lifted up the black sword in his hand. It heated up like sunshine, and the sword body slashed by with a brilliant radiance. Right now, his eyes were half-narrowed dangerously. His appearance was grave and stern, as if shrouded in frost. The black sword contained the strength of heaven and earth. Suddenly, it attacked towards the snow lion that had escaped to several hundred meters distance. The snow lion basically thought that it had escaped to a safe range, but then it felt a burst of murderous aura attack towards it. It wanted to dodge, but it would never had the chance. Slash! A huge noise passed by. The snow lion's enormous body turned and stopped momentarily. The huge black sword disintegrated into specks of cold light. All of it entered the snow lion's body. It was actually at the peak of 9th rank, but how could it withstand Nangong Liuyun's full-strength attack? Its enormous body paused a bit in midair. Soon after, with a thump sound, it fell to the ground. It smashed a huge hole in the snow-covered ground. Bei Qining watched everything with a dumbfounded expression. Bei Qining rubbed his eyes in disbelief, then rubbed it again. Soon after, he burst out with an excited yell. Tell, second brother, what kind of precious elixir made from heavenly material did you eat? How did you advance so quickly? Bei Qining exaggeratedly jumped up. This was only 2 years that they hadn't seen each other. At that time, wasn't second brother at the 8th rank? That was already in defiance of the natural order, but just now, the 9th rank snow lion that he and Zi Yin together couldn't beat had fallen with just 1 strike from second brother. This? Hey boss, could it be you are at the peak of 9th rank? Bei Qining weakly asked. That pair of thick eyelashes brushed over a pair of clear monochrome eyes, blinking as it watched Nangong Luyun. Nangong Luyun stood there with hands behind his back and lifted his chin in an extremely showy fashion. 9th rank? I haven't been one for a long time. Bei Qining jumped around in chaos from being stimulated. He was really stimulated, okay? These 2 years, in order to increase his strength, he went into the magical beast forest by himself to cultivate through experience. Like going through wind and fire, countless times being surrounded by danger, countless times on the brink of life or death. However, even like this, these 2 years, he only got promoted to 8th rank. But second brother actually wordlessly advanced to the 10th rank. 10th rank. What goddamn kind of speed was this? How could it let others live? After our little noble Beichen's excitement passed, he withered like an eggplant during first frost of winter. Ziyin hit Beichening on the head. Little shadow, you are not so bad yourself. You can pass muster against most people. Ziyin herself, even now, was still at the 7th rank. Bringing this up, Bei Qinying's eyes suddenly lit up. Where is sister-in-law? Mentioning Luo Luo, a tenderness flashed through Nangong Liuyun's ice-cold eyes. Take its crystal nucleus. With free labor present, not using it would be a waste. Nangong Luyun confidently and at ease fluttered his sleeves, walked away smooth as a cloud. At this time, Su Luo had already walked out of the carriage, standing in place, both eyes containing a smile as she smilingly gazed at Nangong Luyun. Why did you come out? Nangong Luyun stretched out his long arms and looped her into his embrace. Su Luo placed her body weight on his body. Only like this was she barely able to stand steadily. Seeing you guys fighting, it was so lively, so I came out to see. Su Luo raised her pale little face. That little face was overflowing with smiles. Luo Luo. Ziyin excitedly rushed up, throwing herself over, wanting to hug Su Luo. Chapter 1038. Everyone assembled. Two, however, before her came within 10-meter range of Su Luo. Her body was ruthlessly ejected out. Third senior brother. Ziyin, panting in rage, glared at Nangong Luyun. Bei Chening followed close behind to throw himself towards Su Luo. However, it was the same result. He was also ejected out by that circle of light. Moreover, this time, Nangong Luyun was even more ruthless. He used an even heavier hand than before, directly dropping Bei Chening down and giving him a black eye. Second brother. You are really heartless. Bei Chening staunchly crawled up, complaining about being wronged. Isn't it just hugging Su Luo? He was actually so stingy. Seeing Su Luo, Ziyin suddenly stared blankly in place. She didn't speak for a very long time. Bei Chening looked at Su Luo at the same time, and his body froze from being startled. His eyes contracted momentarily. Luo, how did you? Ziyin only felt that her throat was choked with emotions and couldn't say another word. Wasn't careful and received a small injury. No harm. Su Luo gracefully smiled. Only, she couldn't even stand up, with a pale face that was paper white. Her complexion was so sickly that it was too pitiful to behold. Her being like this, other people could see that she was heavily injured at a glance. Bei Chenying's face flashed with faint anger, nearly about to explode. He clenched his fist tighter. Second brother, how did this come about? Nangong Liuyun's face seemed to be shrouded in cold frost. He was silent without speaking. He carried Su Luo and turned around to climb into the carriage. Let's get into the carriage. Su Luo smilingly waved them over. The four of them climbed into the carriage. The dragon-scaled horse let go of all four hoofs to gallop toward the already established direction. In the carriage, the four people looked at each other. Finally, it was still Su Luo who took the lead to break the silence. She smiled, saying in a placating tone, "You guys shouldn't have this expression of the sky is about to collapse. I haven't died yet. Be quiet." Nangong Luyun roared angrily towards Su Luo. "You are not allowed to say this word." His voice was very loud. The dragon-scaled horse originally was running well, but with his shout, its four hoof nearly lie down on the ground. Bei Chening and Ziyin also couldn't help but shivered a little from fear. In their eyes, even though Nangong Luyun was conceited and insufferably arrogant, but he always cultivated a nobility that came from within his body. In their impressions, the angrier Nangong Luyun was the more cruel his methods. The smile on his face would become increasingly more alluring and demonically charming. His voice would be low and soft. Such a savage roar was rarely seen. However, Nangong Luyun may be fierce, but Su Luo wasn't afraid of him. Compared to the two people with their head hanging low not daring to look face to face with Nangong Luyun, Su Luo seemed even more unperturbed. She held Nangong Luyun's hand and softly said, "Okay, I won't say this word from now on. Don't get angry." Nangong Luyun gazed at her deeply. In the end he sighed. With one hand he pressed her to his chest. Luo, I'm afraid." Nangong Luyun, who was cruel, untamed, aggressive, overbearing and insufferably arrogant. There was also a time when he was afraid. Bei Chening and Ziyin looked at each other in dismay. Shock flickered within their eyes. Really, didn't expect, on this feelings of affection between two people, Nangong Luyun would sink in so deeply, so heavily. This strong affection nearly burned and injured them that were merely spectators, let alone to say how it affected Su Luo. Bei Chening watched the figures that were inseparably in love and nestled against each other. The corner of his mouth lifted up into a self-mocking bitter smile. His family's fearless second brother, with such deep emotional attachment. What could he still do? Some things that were buried deep in the heart. After a long time, perhaps he would forget about it. However, Bei Chening also knows that this notion was merely to deceive himself. All around was quiet. After a long time, Su Luo then broke this oppressive atmosphere. Chapter 1039. Everyone assembled. 3. It's fine. No need for such a bitter face, it's ominous, Su Luo quietly said with a smile. Your injuries. Ziyin looked at Su Luo with a tangled expression. In the end, how did it come about? She remembered at that time. Third senior brother had already found Su Luo. The two of them clearly left together. With third senior brother by her side protecting her, how could he allow Luo Luo to get injured? Thinking up to here, Ziyin glared at third senior brother, whom she very much admired with condemnation in her eyes. Third senior brother was so strong. Why couldn't he have protected Luo Luo well? Having received Ziyin's condemning glare, Nangong Liuyun's expression didn't change, but the guilt and self-blame deep in his heart started to fill the air. Su Luo held his hand. She could feel the change in his mood. It was the old witch Yin Xia that injured me, Su Luo explained to them. Old witch Yin Xia? Ziyin almost jumped up. That witch hasn't died yet? If it was the old witch Yin Xia, then no wonder third senior brother couldn't do much. No, now she is already dead. Su Luo smiled, then added a sentence. Nangong Luyun killed her. As soon as the words were said, everyone immediately became quiet. Bei Qinying's eyes widened until it was perfectly round. Ziyin's mouth was open wide. Both of them looked at Nangong Luyun in shock, unable to take their gazes away from him. This news was simply too terrifying. It was scarier than the news about him being a 10th-ranked expert. Old witch Yin Xia was well known for being exceptionally strong from the older generation. Her existence was close to defying nature. She was a character that could escape alive from being besieged by the heads of the 10 great powers. She was actually killed by Nangong? This is too damn shocking. Bei Qining finally found his voice, although he sounded a bit shaky. Su Luo exchanged a gentle glance with Nangong Luyun, then smilingly said to Bei Qining, this matter, placed on Nangong's body, isn't strange at all. Nangong Luyun, these 4 characters, represented an existence that defied natural order. No matter what he did, everything was possible. Also right. Bei Qinying's voice quieted down. Su Luo's gaze when looking at Nangong Luyun was full of tenderness. Even a blind person could see her feelings for him. 2 years before, second brother had forcefully pinned her by his side, and she was like a bird in a cage, yearning for freedom. But 2 years later, she was perfectly happy to stay by his side with syrupy sweet feelings. He clenched the fists by his side a few times, Bei Qinying's lips slowly curling up into a genuine smile. Seeing her happy, his heart felt assured. Nangong Luyun thoughtfully glanced at Bei Qining. His gaze was deep, pitch black like ink and unfathomable. Ziyin, this child, was insensitive and careless, and completely was unaware that the mood was a bit strange. All of her attention was focused on Su Luo's injuries. Isn't your master Grandmaster Rong Yun? Could it be that even he can't heal your injuries? Su Luo's complexion really was not very good. She couldn't feel the spirit force on Su Luo's body at all. Ziyin was really very worried. Su Luo smiled bitterly and shook her head. This time's injuries are comparably problematic. Even Master was helpless. In the end, since nothing could be done, so we chose to challenge Xianzwood Residence. Xianzwood Residence is being opened 10 years ahead of time. Actually is because of you. Ziyan's eyes momentarily opened wide. Could it be that you both don't know? Su Luo curiously asked. I don't know. Ziyan shook her head uncertainly. My master didn't tell me. My dad also didn't say. Bei Qining shook his head as well. It's no wonder. Su Luo lowered her voice and said in sudden realization. No wonder what? Nangong Luyun asked in a puzzled tone. Chapter 1040. Everyone assembled. 4. No wonder Li Yaoyao didn't say that she wouldn't go to Xianzwood Residence. Su Luo laughed faintly. If she knew that this time, going to Xianzwood Residence was to find the scarlet blood Ningpo figwort for me, She probably wouldn't even lift her head before leaving. It doesn't matter even if she left, Nangong Luyun said with a ghost of a smile. Why? Su Luo and the other two curiously asked. Nangong Luyun smiled mysteriously, but did not say anything revealing. That's right. How did you guys end up battling the snow lion? Mentioning this, Ziyin got really gloomy, she said in a tangled manner. Don't know which bastard injured the snow lion, the result being that we were walking along the road minding our business, and suddenly, it attacked us. Humph, if I were to find out which bastard implicated us in his trouble, see if I wouldn't skin him alive. The more Ziyin talked, the angrier she got, with her eyes wide open in a glare. This time, they simply met this disaster by chance. It had nothing to do with them. Su Luo looked at her. Then she looked at Nangong Luyun, who was frowning, and with a piffed sound, she laughed out loud. Ben Shining unhappily hit Ziyin. The opponent could hurt the snow lion. Clearly, he was very strong. You think you can beat him? With this short sentence, immediately Ziyin was choked off ruthlessly. Ziyin stared back with an imposing manner. I'm no match, but our sect has third senior brother. Third senior brother? You will help avenge me, right? The last part of the sentence, Ziyin said in a flattering manner, with her face lifted towards Nangong Luyun. Su Luo originally didn't want to stimulate Ziyin, but finally, she still couldn't stand by and idly watch. She smilingly told the actual facts. Do you think your third senior brother would skin himself? How is this possible? Having said the sentence halfway through, Ziyin's expression suddenly froze, as if her throat was being pinched by someone. No matter what, she couldn't finish the later half of the sentence. Third senior brother. That snow lion was you? You? Look at our Miss Ziyin being scared to such a degree. Nangong Liuyun's gaze was clear and biting. His deeply cold phoenix eyes were narrowed halfway. He looked at Ziyin with a strange evilness in his eyes, and lifted up an eyebrow with a smirk. Oh, ha, this is such a coincidence. If it weren't for me and Little Shadow passing by and stopping this wounded snow lion, if it had escaped back to its community to complain, then it would have been difficult to deal with later. You couldn't say that Ziyin's reaction wasn't fast. She forced out two shallow laughs, directly reversed her stance, and portrayed herself as a minister having done an outstanding service. But what she said wasn't wrong. If they had let the snow lion run back to its community, this would have become a big problem. Nangong Luyun gazed at her indifferently. A trace of sinisterness came through his eyes, and he said faintly, such a good plan was all ruined by you guys. Oh. Ziyin was suddenly confused. She looked at her little companion. Little Shadow, what does third senior brother mean? Why was it that she couldn't understand it? Bei Qining thoughtfully glanced at Nangong Luyun and asked, let the tiger return to the mountains? Could it be like the mantis stalking the cicada, unaware of the danger behind it? Not so stupid after all. Nangong Liuyun's voice was as cold as the ice in a deep pool, piercing through the bones. He heavily snorted. If you let the people escape, then both of you guys should slit your throats in apology. Ziyin became even more confused, with a perplexed expression painted over her entire face. She stealthily pulled at Bei Qinying's sleeve. I know every word third senior brother said, but put it together, I really can't understand their meaning. Bei Qining smiled bitterly and shook his head. Keep quiet, we nearly messed up something huge. Just now, having considered herself a minister that had performed a great service, Ziyin could only look to Su Luo for help. Those two people's faces were both enigmatic, making her look like a complete idiot. At first, Su Luo also didn't understand it, but after she heard Bei Qinying's words, she suddenly realized its meaning. Chapter 1041. Everyone assembled. 5. For the time being, just watch very quickly, this matter will become clear. Su Luo smiled mysteriously. Seeing Ziyin's appearance of nearly about to blow one's top, Su Luo felt it was very amusing. At any rate, Based on signs on the map, after another half a day's time, they would arrive at Xian's wood residence. Very quickly, everything would be cleared up for her. The dragon-scaled horse ran very fast through the snowy plateau. On the road to Xian's wood residence, very soon, they saw a group of people returning from this route. Nangong Luyun let out a faint command, and the dragon-scaled horse immediately stopped. There were 4 people returning from the original route. Situ Ming, Li Yaoyao, were 2 of them that Su Luo had already encountered from before. The other 2 were Luo family's pair of siblings, Luo Haochen and Luo Die. Su Luo and Zi Yin had dealt with them before, and had ruthlessly oppressed them that time. Now, there were 8 people, for on each team, both teams stood facing each other. Xian's wood residence is just up ahead. Where are you guys going? Bei Qining frowned in displeasure and snorted coldly. Li Yaoyao retrieved her gaze from Nangong Luyun. Her lips curled into a mocking sneer. Xian's wood residence? Why must we go to Xian's wood residence? That's right. We're not going to Xian's wood residence. What are you going to do about it? Luo Die sneered. Li Yaoyao and Luo Die were already maternal cousins. Their relationship could be considered close, especially now. With the 2 groups facing off, naturally, she would unanimously go against the outside group. Just now, Ziyin was kept in the dark, the other 3 all knew. Only she couldn't understand it. This kind of feeling already made her feel down. Now, Li Yaoyao and Luo Die actually came to provoke her annoyance. Immediately, our Miss Ziyin got angry. Li Yaoyao, Luo Die, you are already at Xian's wood residence's gate. Now you guys want to turn back? Your brains must be defective. Having traveled over land and sea to come here, nearly at the gate, and they suddenly don't want to go in? Li Yaoyao sneered back. Ziyin, I think the one with the problem is you, all right? You guys want to search for the scarlet blood Ningpo figwort for Su Luo, but we are not willing. As expected, after Li Yaoyao and Luo Die had joined up and shared their information very easily, they arrived at this conclusion. Because Luo family were an aristocratic family of apothecaries, and Li Yaoyao also knew Su Luo was sickly, so it wasn't difficult to arrive at this conclusion. From Li Yaoyao's perspective, if Su Luo couldn't obtain the scarlet blood Ningpo figwort, then she would die. After she had died, then wouldn't 3rd senior brother be hers? Therefore, not only would she not help Su Luo enter Xian's wood residence to get the scarlet blood Ningpo figwort, on the contrary, she would do everything to impede this. Luo Die also hated Su Luo to the bones. Naturally, she didn't wish her well. Therefore, these 2 joined together to convince the other 2 men. Consequently, once they reached Xian's wood residence, they didn't enter and turned around to come back. Ziyin and Bei Qining exchanged a glance. Both of their eyes were filled with anger. Treacherous, vile bastards. Actually let them guess the truth of this matter. Then, what's to be done now? Out of habit, they both cast their gazes towards Nangong Luyun. In both of their eyes, this person was the backbone. There was nothing he couldn't solve. Nangong Luyun stood there unmoving, his whole body emitting a king's respected aura. He appeared like a sharp edge to the outside, domineeringly strong, not to be ignored. Who wants to go? Nangong Luyun's eyes cast a side glance at Li Yaoyao. His eyes were penetrated thoroughly with a strong, evil ruthlessness. Li Yaoyao, who was about to leave, immediately froze mid-step. She could direct her frigid irony and scorching satire at any of them, without having to hide it. But, when it came to Nangong Luyun, she couldn't be so rigid, no matter what. 3rd senior brother, this is our choice. I hope you can respect it. Li Yaoyao's pair of beautiful eyes stared at Nangong Luyun. Chapter 1042. Everyone assembled. 6. The other intense in her eyes, even though she hadn't said it out loud, but everyone understood. She wanted Nangong Luyun to bow his head to her. But, how could someone as respected as Nangong Luyun bow his head to her? It was simply impossible. Nangong Luyun's beautiful eyes concealed a sinisterness. The corner of his lips pulled up into a sly smile. You want to go? Nobody's going to block your path. Li Yaoyao immediately stared blankly and froze in place. This kind of outcome was completely beyond her expectations. In fact, she knew that since she had already come here, she couldn't possibly return empty-handed, because their family and clan would not allow something like this to happen. Since Grandmaster Rong Yun had suggested it, naturally, the families must have gotten some benefits, otherwise, those old foxes wouldn't have negotiated it so easily. Li Yaoyao's difficult attitude was merely to force Nangong Luyun to agree to her conditions. Therefore, when Nangong Luyun said those words, Li Yaoyao immediately found herself in a dilemma without a way out and froze rigidly in place. Third senior brother, are you certain you really want us to go? Li Yaoyao bit her lower lip, with tears filling her eyes, as if she had suffered the grievances of being forced to leave. Nangong Luyun frowned in disgust. Every time he thought Li Yaoyao was only malicious to this extent, Li Yaoyao would always surpass his expectations again. Although Ziyin didn't understand why Nangong Luyun would let her go, but since third senior brother had spoken, naturally, he had his reasons. As a result, Ziyin took a step forward and shoved Li Yaoyao away. She put her hands on her hips like a bandit. In a resentful manner and with a malicious tone, she said, "If you want to leave, then hurry up and go. You're the one who insists on leaving. Don't pretend as if we're the ones forcing you to go. Pretending to be wronged. Who are you trying to fool?" Clap, clap, clap. Beichening applauded on the side. Good. Well said. Never expected that Miss Ziyin could say such sharp words. Reason is on our side. How can it not be sharp? Ziyin proudly flung her bangs back. Li Yaoyao was put on the spot by these two people's dialogue playing off each other. Fine. It's you guys who asked us to go, so don't regret it later. Having said that, Li Yaoyao bit down tightly on her lip and pulled Situ Ming to leave with her. From beginning till the end, Luo Haochen didn't say a word, but his eyes narrowed slightly, looking profoundly mysterious. Nobody knew what he was thinking. As Situ Ming was leaving, he looked at Nangong Luyun with a deep gaze. He always felt that this matter was not that simple. After watching them leave, Ziyan's originally arrogant expression immediately turned to worry. We're really going to let them go like this? Chapter 1043, Everyone Assembled, 7. Although she still didn't understand, when Ziyin saw that all three of them seemed to have everything planned out, she also calmed down. Ziyin and Beichening followed them to sit in the carriage. They continued in a grandiose manner to Xianswood residence. Not even 2 hours had passed, and they could already see the Xianswood residence gates in the distance. Just at this moment, a burst of fierce fighting sounds came from behind. Ziyan's heart suddenly stopped, directly opening the carriage curtain to look back at what was going on. My God! In the end, what is this? Ziyin gave a shout of surprise, then subconsciously, she covered her mouth. The snowy plateau region had no buildings nor shelter, so they could see very far away. Within a range of 500 meters, a really fierce battle was taking place. Fighting while retreating, constantly trying to draw close to Xianswood residence, was Li Yaoyao and those who had just stormed out angrily. Now, how could they still look as arrogant as they were when leaving from before? Each and every one of their clothing was ragged and blood-stained. They were covered in blood from head to toe, looking no better than beggars. Behind them, several snow lions pursued relentlessly, unwilling to let go. In addition to this, countless magical beasts from this snowy region were also attacking the four people up front in waves. Li Yaoyao was so angry that she nearly cried. Second senior brother, didn't you save a snow lion before? Quickly tell them. Two not yet fully grown snow lions surrounded Li Yaoyao, attacking her until she was bumbling about, wounds continuously decorating her body. Having heard her words, Situ Ming could only smile bitterly. Snow lions were narrow-minded. They certainly would seek revenge. Now, they were chasing after them. Most likely, it was because they knew that the death of those 3 snow lions had something to do with them. Now, they couldn't wait to rip them apart while still alive. So how could they listen to his words? Only, he didn't understand. Why would these snow lions come to find him? In the end, how did they know? Hold on a little longer, very quickly. We will reach Xian's wood residence. Remember, you must not kill a snow lion. Situ Ming warned repeatedly. If one was killed, and they saw blood, then, today, they would inevitably be ripped apart while still alive. At this moment, a snow lion quietly jumped up onto Li Yaoyao's back and directly targeted her snow-white neck to bite down on. This time, the entire snow lion's community had been mobilized from their clan. At this moment, the little snow lion that had climbed up Li Yaoyao's back was about the size of the little divine dragon. Li Yaoyao felt her neck get cold. As soon as she turned her head, she saw an ugly magical beast with sharp teeth about to bite her neck. Where would Li Yaoyao have the time to think so much? She picked up that little thing with her left hand and subconsciously stabbed it with the long blade in her right hand. This was simply a white blade going in and coming out red. The small little snow lion was merely at the 5th level, so it was killed immediately. Oh woo! Seeing this scene before them, the entire snow lions group became violently enraged. They had already lost 3 leaders today. Now, they lost another comrade. How could this be? Roar, roar, roar. Kill, kill, kill. The snow lion boss in the front looked up to the sky and roared, exploding out with a loud bellow. After this, a countless number of snow lions charged and pounced towards Li Yaoyao. They were not concerned with the rest of the people. Brother, quickly run. Where would Luo Jie find the time to care about Li Yaoyao? She was looking forward to all of the snow lions leaving to besiege Li Yaoyao. The Luo siblings held on to each other and quickly fled forward like madmen. Up ahead, there was Nangong Luyun, this 10th-ranked expert, and strongly fortified walls of Xian's wood residence. If they arrived there, then it would be safe. Help save us. Sensing the numerous snow lions that were everywhere charging towards her, Li Yaoyao felt like the whole world was about to collapse on her. Chapter 1044. Everyone assembled. 8. It seemed as if the Luo siblings didn't hear her calls for help. With skillful quick steps, they flew straight in the direction of the Xian's wood residence. Situ Ming saw the situation Li Yaoyao was in and almost drew blood from biting down. He had warned and told her thousands of times, repeating again and again, not to kill the snow lions, don't draw blood. But what's the result? Situ Ming's heart was full of anger. But to ask him to watch his goddess die in front of him, he just couldn't do it. If they were to die, he would die first before she was harmed. Just at this moment of imminent peril, Situ Ming lifted Li Yaoyao up with one hand, and with flying speed, ran forward, his speed soaring to the maximum. Speed had always been Situ Ming's forte. Although he was carrying a person at this time, his survival instinct wouldn't let his speed drop. On the contrary, he went even faster. Behind him, a crowd of snow lions was like waves of smoke surging towards them. Up ahead, the Luo siblings' figures were getting closer and closer. Second senior brother, quick, as long as we outrun them, we'll be safe. Li Yaoyao continuously urged. Situ Ming's chest stiffened. He looked at Li Yaoyao with a complicated expression. If she hadn't killed that snow lion, then matters wouldn't have reached this step. Second senior brother, why are you staring blankly? Move faster. Li Yaoyao was very anxious and urged him on loudly. Situ Ming took a deep breath and took back this kind of oppressive feeling from his heart. Situ Ming finally was running neck to neck with the Luo siblings, but nobody was faster than the other. The snow lions behind them were quickly going to catch up, rushing over from high and low. Sharp claws ruthlessly reached for Li Yaoyao's back. The snow lions were full of hatred towards Li Yaoyao, who told Li Yaoyao to kill a cub from their race. Li Yaoyao let out a mournful scream. That claw was too sharp. It cut across from high up on her right shoulder down to her left shoulder, nearly taking out a piece of her flesh. Li Yaoyao staggered, almost falling in place. Now, the pain was so intense that she felt almost numb, her intestines becoming even more green. Fortunately, Situ Ming took care of her well. He practically carried her on his shoulder to run forward. Luo Jie was scared out of her wits by the sight of the wound on Li Yaoyao's back. It's all your fault. If it weren't for you inciting us to leave, we wouldn't be suffering the snow lion's pursuit to kill us. Luo Jie condemned while panting with rage. Li Yaoyao almost threw up a mouthful of blood from regret. Li Yaoyao wanted to curse back, but even taking a breath made her lungs hurt as if it was in a knot. She simply couldn't utter a single curse. Luo Jie continued to fiercely curse her. If it wasn't for you guys going to ask some snow lions to hold up Nangong Luyun, how could they have been killed by Nangong Luyun? That's not right. Luo Jie finally returned to her senses. They were killed by Nangong Luyun. Why are they seeking revenge on us? This was simply too fishy. A trace of remorse flashed through Situ Ming's eyes. It was no wonder that before, third junior brother let them leave, so it turned out that he had already set up a trap just waiting for them. Third junior brother, we are your brothers and sisters under the same teacher. For a mysterious woman, you're going to let us die? Such a vicious heart. At this time, not only did Li Yaoyao's body hurt, her heart hurt until it was practically suffocating. Third senior brother. So, this killing step was really set up by third senior brother. Did he really want to kill her so badly? There really wasn't a slight place in his heart for her? Just thinking of this possibility, Li Yaoyao's felt her entire body go soft, nearly unable to take another step. Up ahead, far, far away, they could see those four people. Their attitude was confident and at ease, as they contentedly stood in front of Xian's Wood residence's gate, talking and smiling in cheerful voices. In contrast to them, every one of them was battered and exhausted, filthy like beggars. Chapter 1045. Take Money to Buy a Life. 1. Bei Qinying's eyebrows shot up proudly, smiling happily as he watched them in their sorry state of being chased. Who did you guys provoke? How did you guys become so filthy from head to toe? Bei Qinying exaggerated and moved closer to them, looking left then right. Ziyan's expression was even more exaggerated. She was holding her stomach and laughing heartily, close to rolling around on the ground from laughter. Ha 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 ha, I'm dying from laughter, ouch. Hey I say, Li Yaoyao, isn't your luck a little lacking? Li Yaoyao, having been besieged by snow lions, had a belly full of anger. Now, she was being mocked by Ziyan like this. She directly vomited out a mouthful of blood. Didn't you guys leave? Why did you guys come back? Su Luo leaned against Nangong Liuyun's body, with feigned innocence and at a loss expression on her face. Ziyan smilingly answered Su Luo. Silly Luo, you still don't understand this from watching? This is them wanting us to help them ward off the snow lions. Once Ziyan said it out loud, Li Yaoyao and her companions' faces immediately turned red. Indeed, they all had this idea. The idea might be good, but it doesn't sound good, especially under the circumstances of them having already left before to return right now. Could it be that they don't know that snow lions don't randomly make enemies? Su Luo looked as if she was somewhat confused. Su Luo, now, we have ended up like this. You must be happy, right? Are you pleased? No matter what, Li Yaoyao's hatred could not be concealed. Su Luo faintly smiled as she looked at her. Yes, I'm very happy right now, very pleased. Because this play is really fun to watch, could you guys perform it a bit longer? A free martial arts performance with real people, moreover. It was the life and death kind, very hard to come by. Li Yaoyao was angered until her complexion turned ashen. Situ Ming, while fighting, was also observing the situation around him at the same time. Originally, seeing Nangong Luyun and the others standing there watching without lifting a finger, he was already very dissatisfied. Now, seeing Su Luo continuing to hit them while they were down, this was called the uncle could endure it, but the wife could not. Third junior brother, why haven't you come over quickly to help? Situ Ming, while retreating, also pulled Li Yaoyao to draw closer to Nangong Liuyun's side. Nangong Liuyun's forehead wrinkled slightly, a touch of annoyance flashing through his eyes. Bei Qinying coldly smiled. Situ Ming, who do you think you are, daring to talk like this to our second brother? Situ Ming was clearly using his identity as second senior brother to pressure second brother. 1. Bei Qining loathed this the most. Situ Ming frowned. Young Master Bei Qin, it's better if you mingled less in Purgatory City's business. Bei Qining snorted heavily. You think this young master got involved? If you hadn't gone to provoke the snow lions, how could it end up like this? Situ Ming was immediately choked off. Indeed, he was the first to go provoke the snow lions, but how could Bei Qining know of this matter? Situ Ming secretly clenched his teeth. The snow lions were interesting too. They didn't expand the scope of their revenge. They didn't attack Nangong Luyuan, only endlessly attacked the original culprits. Liao Yao, seeing she couldn't keep this up, continuously pled to Nangong Luyuan for help. Third senior brother, even if you don't consider our former mutual affections. But, based on us having the keys, you also can't just stand there and not lift a finger. Third senior brother. Mutual affection from former days? Nangong's thin, dark red lips hooked up into a cold smile. The Jade Lakesley family chased to kill his precious Luo Luo. That was also called mutual affection from former days? Little junior sister, those keys cannot be taken away by the snow lions. Nangong Luyuan stood with his hands clasped behind his back and an indifferent smile on his face. The implication being, even if they died here, the keys would remain behind. Furthermore, the snow lions were more obedient. Clearly, it was you guys that killed those 3 snow lions. Why are we being chased to be killed by them? Luo Die's face was full of hatred. She was really not reconciled. 1. In this sentence, Situ Ming is second senior brother to Nangong Luyuan because they had the same teacher. Bei Qining calls Nangong Luyuan second brother because among the 4 of them, Bei Qining, Nangong Luyuan, Lan Xian, and Anya Ming Nangong Luyuan is second eldest, so in Chinese Bei Qining calls him second eldest. Please let me know in comment sections if I should translate Bei Qining calling Nangong Luyuan as second brother or second eldest to avoid confusion with Situ Ming being second senior brother. Chapter 1046. Take money to buy a life. 2. Su Luo played with the plump, 9-tailed spirit fox with whirling eyes in her arms. She glanced at Luo Die with a ghost of a smile. Did you see it with your own eyes? Of course, I. Luo Die almost blurted it out, but she managed to catch herself at the last second. If she admitted to it, then the snow lions wouldn't be their only enemy. Nangong Luyuan would also turn into one as well. Nangong Luyuan's eyes narrowed dangerously. His pupils were enchanting and frivolous, absolutely beautiful and abstruse. You guys want to live? Nangong Luyuan's voice was exceptionally sharp and arrogant. Yes. Luo Jie and Li Yaoyao shrieked in unison. Those damned snow lions, drawing them all the way here, and actually wouldn't attack them. Nangong Luyuan's noble jawline was arrogantly lifted up in an ice-cold manner, his thin red lips slowly curling up. Wanting to live is really not that difficult. Seeing the intensity of the battle progress, Nangong Luyuan gave off the intense pressure of a strong expert. Suddenly, everybody felt like the surrounding atmosphere became suffocating. A formidable force was compelling them to bend down their backs. The snow lions felt this murderous aura and immediately stopped their attacks. They ran in an orderly manner to behind their leader, waiting for a command. Li Yaoyao, completely lacking any form, fell down to sit on the ground, grasping large mouthfuls of air one after another. At this moment, her hair was disheveled, clothing was ragged. She was covered from head to toe in a mixture of blood and sweat. She cut an exceedingly sorry figure. She was grasping for large breaths of air. Obviously, she was extremely exhausted. Nangong Luyuan's dark red thin lips faintly curled up, casting them sidelong glances in an arrogant and unbridled manner. 1,000 green-colored crystal stones for one life. Those that don't have it now will write an IOU slip. Having heard what was said, Su Luo nearly burst out in laughter. When did Nangong Luyuan become like her, having a habit of raking in the money? 1,000 green-colored crystal stones was not a small amount. Oh, Don't know what benefits Master had given the four great families before they were persuaded to open Xian's Wood residence at an earlier time. But if they received benefits without doing the job, this was certainly in violation of the agreement. Moreover, the green-colored crystal stones in Su Luo's space were nearly all consumed in order for her to cultivate. Therefore, Su Luo endorsed Nangong Liuyun's decision with both hands. Before, she had indeed mumbled in a low voice to herself several sentences on how there weren't enough green-colored crystal stones. But at that time, Nangong Liyun only smiled enigmatically. Never expected that he actually calculated this plan on the body of these people. Let the nine-tailed spirit fox go to the Snow Lions community to report the news, framing Li Yaoyao's group and forcing them into a life-and-death crisis. Then, ask them to hand over green-colored crystal stones to buy their life. Nangong Luyun, this guy, was really two-faced. Layer after layer, he had calculated against them many times. Su Luo felt that this lifetime, the best thing she did was to be together with Nangong Luyun. Once Nangong Luyun had spoken, Li Yaoyao and the others were stunned. Third junior brother, what are you doing? The person who had the hardest time accepting this was Situ Ming, this second senior brother. He completely could not accept that his own junior brother would take green-colored crystal stones in exchange for saving his life. Nangong Liuyun's gaze was sharp and deep, his eyebrows shooting up in a faint mocking manner. Are your eyes there only for decoration? You can't see? Beichening gave a pft and burst out in laughter. Situ Ming suddenly was dumbfounded and foolishly stood in place. Was this still the third junior brother he knew? How could he do something like this? Third junior brother. Situ Ming clenched his teeth in rage, a trace of pain flashing through his eyes. We are fellow apprentices under the same master, with more than 10 years of friendship. How can you? Second senior brother, this is the last time that Nangong Luyun will call you by this title. Nangong Luyun stood with his hands behind his back, black hair pouring down in torrents like spilled ink, hanging down over his broad shoulders. The contrast made him seem even more respectable, proud, ruthless, and devilishly charming. Chapter 1047. Take money to buy a life. 3. You want to kill me? Go ahead. But touching my Luo Luo is absolutely unacceptable. Nangong Liuyun's manner, in an instant, turned brash, dark, and ruthless. His murderous aura soared to the sky. Others might not know you had saved a snow lion before, but do you really think you can conceal this from me? Nangong Luyun pressured him step by step. His innate arrogance, nobility, and aggressiveness were clearly visible. Situ Ming opened his mouth a few times, but found that his throat felt like it was being pinched off. He couldn't utter a word. That kind of invisible deterrence force and oppressive pressure Nangong Luyun released actually made this second senior brother feel afraid, terrified as if he saw Master before him. Therefore, Nangong Luyun reached the verdict. Not killing you guys immediately is me being benevolent. You guys should stop before going too far. Otherwise, if you continue with winning an inch and wanting a foot. Nangong Luyun lifted his eyes up to look around. The smile on his face was alluring, demonically charming, mysterious, and cunning. Then, being ripped apart and eaten by the magical beasts in the north is also a pretty good ending. At this moment, Nangong Luyun was like the gods high above, coldly looking down at all living beings. And the several people in front of him were like ants to him. All of a sudden, not a sound could be heard. Terrifyingly quiet. Situ Ming was dumbstruck. Li Yaoyao's petal-like lips quivered slightly. Third senior brother. Your heart is truly ruthless. He would actually say such words. He completely disregarded their mutual affection from the past. Li Yaoyao's tear-filled eyes looked towards Nangong Luyun. In it was hidden bitterness, grievance, and pain mixed together. There isn't much time. I'll count to 3. Afterwards, you're responsible for the consequences. Nangong Liuyun's whole body gave off an invisible oppressive pressure. Nobody dared to meet his dark gloomy eyes. 1. Nangong Luyun waved his hand. The snow lions on the side suddenly cried out and charged ahead. The four people were completely caught off guard. Once again, they were thrown into a life-and-death situation. 2. Nangong Liuyun's keen, hawk-like eyes were sharp and cold. His thin red lips were cold, detached, and heartless. I agree. I agree. Luo Jie, who had been pounced down to the ground and nearly ripped to pieces by the snow lion's sharp teeth, immediately nodded her head in agreement. I agree too. Luo Haochen's cold, gloomy voice echoed immediately after. Although 1,000 green-colored crystal stones was a lot, but it wasn't more precious than one's life. If they died, then they would have nothing. He was sure that if he didn't agree, Nangong Luyun would definitely be able to watch them die. There was no point in using family influence, reputation, and virtue to pull Nangong Luyun to their side. It was simply useless. Only 2 people remained. Li Yaoyao tearfully nodded her head in grief. I agree, I agree. She could feel faintly that third senior brother really did not like her anymore. This was worse than killing her. Situ Ming's face seemed to be enveloped in cold frost. Now, he was under their roof. He had no choice but to lower his head. He could only clench his teeth and agree. He secretly made a decision in his heart that once he returned, he must put in a few good words for third junior brother in front of their master. Nangong Liuyun's unsympathetic gaze swept by them. Then his dark red, moist lips smirked even more devilishly, right? With a wave of his hand, writing tools and paper appeared before them. The space bag. Everyone could clearly see that Nangong Luyun was in possession of a most prized space bag for storage space. Momentarily, everyone was admiring, jealous, and regretful. Su Luo looked at Nangong Luyun calmly, her lips curling up into a smile. Nangong Luyun used the space bag to leave an unforgettable impression, so her own space would be hard to be exposed. He really considered her needs in every aspect. Su Luo's hand that held Nangong Liuyun's hand tightened a few times. The Nangong Luyun that had a murderous aura surrounding him, not allowing strangers to approach, just a moment ago, turned to smile at Su Luo while raising an eyebrow. His smile had a bit of being pleased with himself, like a child taking credit for his achievements. Chapter 1048. Take money to buy a life. 4. Pure white as snow, bright sunshine, and there was also that flowy, elegant black robe. All of this accented his magnificent, pearl-like face, making it even more brilliant and dazzling. This was Nangong Luyun, the man who will accompany her for the rest of her life. Really great. These people suffered through the humiliation in silence, writing the IOU slip and handing it over to Nangong Luyun in grief and indignation. Nangong Luyun received it and made a show of examining it carefully. His manner of scrutinizing it so seriously nearly angered these people that owed the debt to death. They could get angry but didn't dare say it. They could only obediently wait by the side. The snow lions were eager to try out their sharp teeth and waited to pounce over at any moment. Therefore, they were itching to immediately open the gates to Xian's residence, afraid of other issues that may arise. After Nangong Luyun unhurriedly scanned it, he then collected the IOUs in an unhurried manner, and only then did he slowly say, "Open the gates." Immediately, Luo Jie and others felt like they had received amnesty, and their hearts relaxed. Once the gates of Xian's residence opened, they rushed in, fast as lightning, in a line, trying to outdo one another to be first. Su Luo laughingly shook her head. Before, they had strutted off and left. Now, they have entered faster than rabbits. Really interesting. With a hand movement, Nangong Luyun had put Su Luo on his back. His every gesture was natural and at ease. He gave a soft laugh that was gentle and kind. Watching this performance must have tired you out. Your husband will carry you in. Don't talk nonsense. Su Luo slapped his shoulder. Nangong Liuyun's smile was as gorgeous and brilliant as the cherry blossoms in March. This matter will happen sooner or later. Let me first practice using this address, so I can get used to it earlier. The atmosphere at this moment was peaceful and full of contentment. Nangong Luyun carried Su Luo on his back. Step by step, he unhurriedly went in. Xian's Wood residence. Inside was a spacious mansion. The plants and trees were green and lush. The pavilions in the gardens were like those in worldly manners. At this moment, everyone stood in place, staring blankly, not knowing what direction was the road they need to take. Situ Ming suddenly cried out in surprise. In the wake of his cry of surprise, everybody gathered over. In front of Situ Ming was a stone table. This stone table, Li Yaoyao's hand stroked the surface of the stone. Suddenly, her eyes lit up. "This is the sunlight stone," Li Yaoyao said with certainty. The sunlight stone was a material used to refine high-grade weapons. This material was extremely valuable. Even the entire Jade Lakesley family could not afford a lot of it. Now, it was actually used so extravagantly as a stone table. Chapter 1049, 9, Different Palace Halls, 1. Nangong Luyun took off eastwards with Su Luo on his back. "Little junior sister, let's go." Situ Ming looked at Li Yaoyao and sighed faintly. "Second senior brother, do you blame me? Are you blaming me for throwing a fit and leaving?" Li Yaoyao raised her palm-sized face, and the bruise on her face made her look even more pitiful. If she hadn't thrown a fit, they also wouldn't have been injured to this degree. Situ Ming's heart originally had a bit of resentment, but seeing Li Yaoyao's pitiful appearance, that bit of blame immediately vanished like smoke. "No, let's go." Situ Ming watched Nangong Liuyun's leaving back, his eyes flashing slightly. Without reaching a critical moment, how else could you make out a person's heart? Who would have thought that third junior brother would be so heartless? Using money to buy a life? Moreover, the object of this was his own brothers and sisters from the same teacher. He really could do it too. "Little junior sister, third junior brother really isn't your husband. You should, no?" Li Yaoyao obstinately raised her chin, cold light flickering in her eyes, her expression firm. "Third senior brother must be mine. Now, he is merely confused by that sly fox of a witch Su Luo. There will be a day when he realizes who is the person that loves him the most." Li Yaoyao's entire body trembled slightly, her hands clenching into fists. She was resolute as if meeting an enemy. Situ Ming had a breath of air stifled in his throat, not moving up nor down. He really didn't know how best to advise her. The one in the midst of it was confused, while onlookers saw clearly. Nangong Luyun didn't have any feelings left for Yaoyao. However, this foolish girl still stubbornly persisted in going down the wrong path. Situ Ming was angry, anxious, and very much helpless. He could only choke back this breath of air. He had no other choice but to change the subject. "Let's not mention these now. The most important thing is to find the entrance to the palace halls." The party of 8 had been divided into 4 groups. Nangong Luyun and Su Luo went east. Situ Ming and Li Yaoyao went west. Bai Chening and Zi Yin went north. Luo Haochen and Luo Die went south. The 4 groups searched inside and out, inch by inch, trying to find the location of the entrance. However, the 3 groups indeed searched diligently, not letting a grass and a single tree slip by, carefully inspecting each. However, Nangong Luyun and Su Luo weren't this diligent. At this time, Su Luo was sitting on the swings, lazily basking in the sun. The little divine dragon and little spirit fox each was sitting on the left and right of Su Luo's shoulders, swinging along, looking extremely content. "You're probably tired. Stop and rest a bit." Nangong Luyun, with a spoiled and pampering manner, pulled the swing to a stop. Others were painstakingly searching, while his girl was playing around over here. The spirit force here is very comfortable, like bathing in a spring breeze, as if every pore is absorbing the spirit force. Su Luo's face seemed to have a bit of rosy taint, not as pale as before. Of course, A bit of the spirit force would also escape from the entrance to the 9 different palace halls. Nangong Luyun laughed enigmatically. Su Luo teased the little divine dragon, and the corner of her mouth hooked up slightly. Whoa, the two of you are goofing off. Bei Qining, in a flash, quickly arrived in front of them, laughing happily as he moved closer to them. Soon after, Ziyin walked over and said in surprise, "So it turns out that you two already knew earlier the entrance is here, and watched us as we searched everywhere for it like fools." Su Luo's smile perked up. "Didn't you guys come over now?" Ziyin smiled. "It was because of Little Shadow. He simply wouldn't go and search at all. He only said that following you guys would be correct, and he was right." Bei Qining was very pleased with himself. After eating so many depressing losses, how could he not learn to be a bit smarter? In this kind of situation where it was dependent on luck, Bei Qining would firmly walk under Su Luo's flag. Su Luo, while teasing the little divine dragon, said, "Let us wait some more, see how long it will take them to search over here." Chapter 1059 Different Palace Halls 2. In fact, after entering, Su Luo had known where the entrance was. Because the little divine dragon was present, there wasn't an entrance that couldn't be found. However, if Su Luo had so easily found the entrance, not only would those people not be grateful, instead, she would draw their suspicion. Therefore, Su Luo simply sat here to rest with Nangong Luyun and let those foolish people search for themselves. In any case, every blade of grass and tree was sealed. No one could take it away. As for Bei Qining and Ziyin, according to Bei Qining's adaptable temper, after he had eaten several losses under her hand, if he still couldn't crawled up, then he wouldn't be Bei Qining. The party of 4 people leisurely sat on the grassy meadow. With a wave of Su Luo's hand, a small square table appeared in the middle of the 4 people seated in a circle. 2 boxes with black jade and white jade chess pieces were placed properly on the table. Nangong Luyun and Bei Qining exchanged a smile and unhurriedly and contentedly played chess. Su Luo waved her hand once again, and another shorter table appeared, half covered with pastries and snacks. Additionally, there was still fresh tea simmering on a red clay stove. Ziyin sighed very ruefully. "Are we adventuring or vacationing?" "We're vacationing, they're adventuring." The corner of Su Luo's mouth perked up into a shallow smile. The them, she said, referred to whom everyone was well aware of. Compared to their contentment, at present, Li Yaoyao and them were about to collapse. Their bodies all had injuries. And inside this Xian's residence, actually it was filled with the sweet fragrance of medicinal herbs, the aroma assailing their nostrils. Just one careless planted grass on the roadside had the efficacy of millennium-old medicine. Moreover, it could effortlessly treat their external wounds. Not only that, the stone table, that low small table, each and every one of them were valuable. Just scraping off a little bit of the fire star wood on the short small table would cure their injuries. However, what made them collapse was that these medicines they urgently needed, they could only look but couldn't touch, they wanted it but couldn't obtain it. Because their surroundings were sealed, when their hands moved to touch it, a tenacious shield would block them. If they dared to use spirit power, then the person would directly be sent flying. Li Yaoyao and them didn't believe it, but being sent flying again and again, finally, with expressions of wanting to cry but having no tears, they believed it. If they hadn't seen these medicines, then fine, but they saw it. Moreover, it was within reach, yet no matter what, they couldn't get it. This kind of feeling was like 10 million insects and ants biting them, itchy as well as painful. These 4 people that were heavily wounded, in this huge Xian's residence, in the areas they were assigned, they searched, one circle after another. No matter what, they still couldn't find the entrance. Ultimately, these 4 people that were exhausted to the extreme gathered together. "Did you guys find it?" Li Yaoyao gently looked at Luo Die. You couldn't help but say, Li Yaoyao absolutely was a heroine that was adaptable to circumstances. Before, She was itching to run ahead of Luo Die to make Luo Die serve as the sacrificial victim. But now, she had once again become the gentle, soft, and good older sister. Luo Die coldly sneered. Don't tell me you guys found it? Die, are you still angry at this older sister? Li Yaoyao stared at her broken-heartedly and pulled her hand, looking as if she had been extremely wronged. Luo Die shook off her hand and coldly smiled. With regards to those people that want me to die, I don't have the strength to get angry. Younger sister, how could you say it like this? Are you still blaming me for taking you away, bringing you guys into danger? But at that time, no one knew that the snow lions were waiting there. Li Yaoyao's tears seemed to appear at will. The action was very smooth. Humph. Luo Die turned her face away. She didn't forget that, at the most critical moment, Li Yaoyao, this older female cousin, was only worried about herself and running away. Chapter 1051. 9 Different Palace Halls. 3. Younger sister. In the present circumstances, could it be you still can see it clearly? If you can't see it clearly, surely older male cousin can see it clearly? Li Yaoyao looked at Luo Haochen with a burning gaze. Luo Haochen's eyes narrowed slightly, his gaze was sharp as blades, and he stared coldly at Li Yaoyao. Luo Haochen's feelings were really somewhat complicated towards this fairy-like, extraordinarily and outstanding younger female cousin. Before, he liked her. One could say that he really liked her to the point of wanting to ask to marry her. However, after going through the battle from before, and after Li Yaoyao's choice at that critical moment of life and death, he was somewhat unable to see her as clearly. Therefore, Luo Haochen remained enigmatically silent. Older cousin, you saw it right. Bei Qining has a very good relationship with Su Luo. Now, they have probably already joined together. If the forests don't unite, we absolutely would be consumed by them until even dregs won't remain. Li Yaoyao was bewitching, enunciating every sentence and every word. This point, Luo Haochen understood without Li Yaoyao having to say it. Therefore, we must unite. Only when we are united would we have the ability to withstand them. The 3 people all stayed silent and didn't speak. Li Yaoyao continued to bewitch them. The other side's 4 people are also united, but they have a fatal weak point. And that weakness is precisely the other party's weakest point. What weak point? Luo Haochen finally spoke. Li Yaoyao half muttered to herself, and finally said 2 words, Su Luo. Once these words came out, the 2 men nodded faintly. Su Luo was injured to that degree, even walking a step was difficult. Therefore, through her, it was the best breakthrough point of their defense. However, Luo Die sneered, Jade Lake's Fairy, you want to use us 3 to help you eliminate Su Luo so you can get Nangong Luyun, right? This scheme of yours is rather a bit too good. The fury in Li Yaoyao's heart ignited into a raging blaze. She wished she could immediately kill this loathsome girl before her eyes with 1,000 cuts. But now was a crucial moment, and this loathsome girl still had her uses. As a result, Li Yaoyao temporarily suppressed the rage in her heart. Instead, a having been wronged expression appeared at the corner of her mouth. Younger sister, can it be that you didn't see it? In third senior brother's heart and eyes there is only Su Luo alone. Regardless of whether Su Luo is dead or alive, he will never turn back to be together with me. Luo Die nodded her head in satisfaction. These words are not fake. Regardless if Su Luo is alive or dead, just based on Nangong Liuyun's loathing for you, it's absolutely impossible for him to turn back and be together with you.